1974 early summer. Hongqi Brigade. Beneath the greater Xing'an Mountains, at 7:30 in the morning, many villagers were already out in the fields, carrying hoes over their shoulders and working hard for their daily work points. But I was still sleeping soundly. The excitement of being reborn had kept me awake almost the entire night. Now, after finally calming down, exhaustion had completely taken over. In my previous life, I was an extreme adventure creator with millions of followers. Wilderness survival, crossing deserts, exploring Antarctica, African hunting trips, skydiving, wingsuit flying. That if something was dangerous enough, if it could push the limits of human endurance, I went after it. That obsession eventually led me to disaster. During one wingsuit flight, I suffered a serious accident that I survived by luck, but the consequences were devastating. My entire body became paralyzed, and for more than 10 years, I could only lie in bed, unable to move. That a living nightmare. As for why I was given another chance, I could only guess it had something to do with that strange blood moon phenomenon. After merging with the memories of this body, I finally understood my situation. That I had returned to 1974, a small mountain village beneath the greater Xing'an Mountains in Dong Province. But honestly, the year didn't matter much to me. What mattered was that I had a healthy body again. A body that could move freely. A body that could run, fight, and experience the world. That feeling of freedom. It was incredible. Xinyang. A roar suddenly exploded outside like thunder. The next moment, the door was pushed open. A tall and sturdy middle-aged woman stormed inside. She grabbed the broom beside the door and swung it directly at me. Ah! Pain shot through me. The dream instantly disappeared. I jumped upright. Mom, what are you doing? I rubbed my backside and looked helplessly at Zhang Tsuiping. Still sleeping? My mother's voice was loud enough to shake the room. Look at what time it is. Are you a pig? How can you sleep this long? Before I could respond, she continued scolding. Get up and clean this mess of a room. Change into something decent too. Your fiancé is arriving this afternoon. Don't embarrass us. She left immediately after saying that. I sat there stunned. My fiancé? What fiancé? I quickly searched through the memories of this body, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find anything about this person. That completely woke me up. I grabbed some clothes, put them on, and hurried outside. In the main room, I saw my mother and my sister-in-law busy cleaning. Mom. I walked over. You said my fiancé is coming? When did I get a fiancé? Why don't I know anything about this? Zhang Tsuiping glanced at me. What do you know? You were still in my stomach when this was arranged. I froze. What? An arranged marriage? I'm supposed to marry someone I've never even met. What are you shouting for? She snapped. Do you think being loud makes you right? She poked my forehead. Let me tell you, being able to marry Su Wenwan is your good fortune. I kept asking questions, and eventually, my mother finally explained the whole story. Back then, my father Chen Jianya had two brothers-in-arms who were like family. One was Li Fumin. The other was Su Guohong. The three of them had made a promise: if all their children were boys, they would become sworn brothers. If one family had a son and another had a daughter, they would become in-laws. Later, tragedy struck. Li Fumin and his wife were betrayed and killed, leaving behind only their newborn daughter. Li Mingyue at that time. Li Mingyue's mother didn't have enough milk to feed her child, so she entrusted the baby to my mother, Zhang Tsuiping. That was how Li Mingyue survived. Afterward, my parents raised her like their own daughter. A year ago, Li Mingyue and my older brother Chen Luo fell in love and got married. She became my sister-in-law. Meanwhile, after the war ended, my father and Su Guohong returned to their hometowns. The two families stayed connected through letters for many years. Before his death, Su Guohong couldn't let go of his two children, so he wrote to my father, hoping that he could take care of his daughter Su Wenwan and his son Su Wenhai. My father agreed without hesitation. A few days ago, Su Wenwan sent another letter. Her father had passed away. She would bring her younger brother and come to the greater Xing'an Mountains to seek shelter with our family. According to the timing, they would arrive today. That was why. My father and my older brother had already taken a horse cart to the provincial train station to pick them up. After learning the whole story, I stopped arguing. I sat quietly and thought. From the memories I inherited, I knew exactly what kind of person my father was. Chen Jianya was a farmer by birth. Rough, straightforward, barely educated, He had a quick temper and acted without hesitation. But he was also generous, loyal, and placed great importance on promises. You could reason with him, but only to a certain extent. His principle was simple. If your father says your father is right, then your father is right. And if you disagreed, you might receive a lesson before the discussion continued. But I was no longer the original Chun Yang that I came from the 21st century. I had my own beliefs. I would not let an old promise decide my entire future. If my father truly tried to force me to marry a woman I had never met, I would refuse that. I wanted love by choice, not a marriage arranged by others. Hey, you useless kid. My mother's voice pulled me back. I'm working with your sister-in-law until I'm covered in sweat, and you're just sitting there doing nothing? You're 18 years old already. Don't you know how to help? I sighed and stood up. All right. What do you need me to do? She looked at me. With your clumsy hands? Forget it. Then she thought for a moment. Your fiancé and her brother are arriving today. We don't even have meat at home. Take your father's hunting rifle and go into the mountains. See if you can bring back some game. They came all this way. We can't serve them a poor meal. The moment I heard that, my eyes lit up. Going hunting? Now that was interesting. That I walked into my father's room. The rifle hanging on the wall immediately caught my attention. That a Type 56 semi-automatic rifle, not BAD.in this era. That was a rare weapon. But after thinking about it, it made sense that my father was the leader of Hongqi Brigade's militia team. Having a rifle like this wasn't surprising. That I took the gun, ammunition, and prepared the rest of my equipment. A bamboo basket, a heavy mountain knife, a dagger, a rope. After putting on socks and Liberation Army shoes, I wrapped cloth strips tightly around my ankles and calves. The mountains were full of insects and snakes during this season. That I didn't want anything crawling into my clothes. Everything was ready. Just as I was about to leave, my mother came over. Take these 2 corn buns. She placed them carefully into my basket. And this box of matches. I filled your canteen with boiled water too. Then she looked at me seriously. Be careful in the mountains. Don't go too deep. Stay near the outer area and come back early. Don't get carried away and forget the time. I know. I smiled. I'm going. Watch out for snakes and insects. Don't worry. I stepped outside. For the first time in decades, I was heading into the wilderness with a body that truly belonged to me. And I couldn't help feeling excited. When I walked out of the house, I immediately saw several children from nearby homes playing barefoot beside the dirt road. Their clothes were patched and worn, but their laughter filled the quiet morning. Across the road, a slogan was painted on the wall of an adobe house. Vast world, great achievements await. The production team's loudspeaker was playing The East is Red. Villagers wearing straw hats walked toward the fields in small groups, carrying hoes on their shoulders. The morning air carried the smell of cooking smoke and the fresh scent of black soil. This was 1974, that a completely different ERA.TO hunt in the mountains. I needed hunting dogs. Without them, finding prey in the endless forest would be extremely difficult. Unfortunately, my family didn't have any. So I turned toward the western side of the village. That was the closest place to the mountains and the only route most hunters used. There lived an old hunter named Chun Dabiao. He was famous throughout the surrounding villages. People called him the Hunting King. His achievements were legendary. He had hunted a tiger, killed 4 bears, and countless other wild animals. However, several years ago, during a mountain hunt, he was injured while saving someone from a wild boar attack. The injury left him with lasting health problems that he rarely entered the mountains anymore. Now his 2 sons, Chun Jijun and Chun Jigang, handled most of the hunting. Chun Jijun was close with my older brother Chun Luo, and Chun Jigang, he was my childhood friend. But we had grown up together. That we climbed mountains to steal bird eggs. We went into rivers to catch fish. We even got into trouble together when we were kids. Of course, the punishments we received were just as memorable. But those things happened when we were young. If we had been older, some of those foolish actions could have caused serious trouble. Either way, I could confidently say one thing. Chun Jigang was a true brother. When I arrived at the western edge of the village, only a few houses remained. The innermost courtyard belonged to Chun Jigang's family. Years ago, wild animals often came down from the mountains, especially during winter. There had even been cases where people disappeared after leaving their homes at night. Although things had improved in recent years, most villagers had moved closer to the center or eastern side of the village. Only old hunters like Chun Dabiao remained here that I had heard from Chun Ji Gang that their family had already received land in the eastern part of the village. They planned to build a new house for his older brother. His sister-in-law was pregnant, and they wanted a safer place for the child. When I entered the courtyard, I saw Chun Ji Gang sitting on a small stool, carefully cleaning his rifle. He was huge, almost 1.95 meters tall, built like a mountain. Even though I was around 1.8 meters and physically strong, standing beside him still made me look slimmer, but I knew something he didn't. This body contained more strength than my previous peak condition ever had. People of this era lived through hardship. Their bodies were naturally strong. Even my father, back when he was in the army, could march 50 or 60 kilometers without much difficulty. Now he was older, but walking 20 kilometers was still nothing. Gongzi, cleaning your rifle. My shout startled him. The gun almost slipped from his hands. You damn idiot, Yangzi. You scared me. He glared at me. Why are you here so early? I turned slightly and showed him the rifle on my back. Can't you see? Let's go into the mountains and get some meat. Chen Jigang immediately smiled. All right, wait for me. He put down the rifle and went inside to prepare. By the way, where are your father and your brother? They went to work in the fields. Yangzi, go bring out Huang Mao and He Tan. I walked toward the small shed in the corner of the yard. After untying the rope, I opened the door. Two strong hunting dogs immediately rushed out. They ran happily around the yard before returning to me. Huang Mao. He Tan. Woof. The two dogs sat down, tongues out, eyes alert. These weren't ordinary village dogs. They were Orangkan hunting dogs, gifts from one of Chun Dabiao's Orangkan friends. They had excellent hunting instincts. Their future puppies would likely inherit those traits that I had already made plans. When autumn came and Huang Mao had puppies, I would definitely ask Chun Dabiao for one or two. I rubbed their heads. Their fur was smooth and well cared for. After putting leashes on the two dogs, Chun Jigang came out. Fully prepared. He took the ropes. Then the two of us, with the two hunting dogs leading the way, headed toward the mountains. After more than an hour of walking, we finally reached the deeper areas near the edge of the greater Shingon Mountains. From here on, the path became much harder. Branches crossed everywhere. Grass reached our knees. Dead trees and fallen branches covered the ground. Yangzi, we'll search around here. Chun Jigang looked back. Any deeper, and we'll be entering the old forest. All right. I looked around carefully. Years of wilderness experience immediately kicked in. Chun Jigang removed the leashes from the two dogs and patted them lightly. Go. The two hunting dogs shot forward like arrows. Within seconds, they disappeared into the forest. Neither of us worried. They were experienced hunting dogs. Unless they encountered a large predator, they would be fine. Even if they did run into danger, they knew how to escape. Neither Chun Jigang nor I was a stranger to the mountains, especially me in my previous life. I had explored places like the Amazon rainforest and Borneo jungle countless times. When it came to wilderness experience, I was confident I could compete with even Chun Dabiao. Finding prey depended on reading signs, footprints, droppings, broken branches, any clue that revealed an animal's movement. But summer made everything harder. The thick vegetation hid most traces. We searched for a long time. Nothing, but that was normal. This was only the outer area of the greater Shingon Mountains. Hunters from nearby villages all came here. The animals had learned to avoid humans. Still, we weren't completely empty-handed. Along the way, we found some mushrooms, enough to make a decent plate of food. Looks like our luck isn't great today. Chun Jigang wiped the sweat from his face. We haven't even seen a single animal. That shouldn't happen. I frowned. Is my luck really that bad? People always talked about a beginner's luck. This was supposed to be my first mountain trip after rebirth. Where was my advantage? Sure, this body had entered the mountains before, but my soul, this was my first time here. Was the universe discriminating against a reborn person? I was still complaining internally when suddenly, a fierce burst of barking came from the distance. Yangzi. Chun Jigang's eyes lit up. Huang Mao and He Tan found something. He immediately grabbed his rifle and rushed toward the sound that I followed. Raising my Type 56 we quickly hid behind trees and aimed forward. The bushes ahead shook violently. The barking grew louder. Something large was being chased toward us by the two hunting dogs. Because of the thick vegetation, I couldn't see what it was yet, but judging from the movement, it definitely wasn't small. Chen Jigang tightened his grip on the rifle. I pushed the safety off. Holding my breath, I stared ahead. Whatever was coming, it was about to reveal itself. The bushes 50 or 60 meters ahead suddenly shook. A flash of yellow burst out like lightning. Bang! Bang! Both of us pulled the triggers almost at the same time. The shots echoed through the forest. The animal collapsed instantly, its legs still twitching slightly. Yangzi, it's a roe deer. We got a roe deer. Chen Jigang's excitement was obvious the moment he saw the prey. Huang Mao and He Tan were already circling around it, tails wagging happily. We lowered our rifles and quickly walked over. It was indeed an adult male roe deer. Judging by its size, it weighed at least 30 or 40 kilograms. Without wasting time, Chen Jigang pulled out his hunting knife and began bleeding the animal. A freshly hunted animal had to be drained immediately. Otherwise, the blood left inside would affect the meat and make it develop a sour taste. While Chen Jigang handled that, I crouched down and examined the bullet wounds. One shot had hit the roe deer's neck. The other had hit its right front leg. The next shot was mine. The leg shot belonged to Chen Jigang. Looking at the bullet hole in the neck, I frowned slightly. I had been aiming for the head, but after more than 10 years trapped in a bed, my shooting skills were clearly not what they used to be. Back then, when I traveled across the African savanna, every shot I fired was precise, a perfect hit almost every time. Even disassembling and assembling a rifle in under a minute wasn't difficult for me. But those days were gone. While I was lost in thought, Chen Jigang had already finished draining the blood and started processing the animal. At my suggestion, we kept the stomach and the 2 kidneys. Part of the organs went to reward the hunting dogs. The rest was hung on a tree branch as an offering to the mountain spirits. After all the work was finished, it was already past noon. Both of us were starving, but this wasn't the right place to eat. The smell of blood could attract predators. The chance wasn't high. But in the wilderness, you never took unnecessary risks. We packed the cleaned roe deer into the bamboo basket and left the area, following Chen Jigang's lead. We soon reached a clear mountain stream. I immediately scooped up some cold water and washed my face. The refreshing chill instantly washed away my fatigue. A breeze passed over the stream, making this place feel even cooler than the surrounding forest. The open view made it a perfect place to rest. After discussing it, we decided to have lunch here. Before entering the mountain, we had only brought some dry corn buns. If we hadn't found anything, we would have eaten them and moved on. But now, we had fresh meat. There was no way we were eating plain buns. Gangzi cut off one of the deer legs. I headed toward the nearby woods to gather dry branches for a fire. Not long after, I returned carrying an armful of firewood. Chen Jigang had already prepared the roe deer leg. We pierced the meat with pine branches and stuck 2 forked branches into the ground. A simple roasting rack was ready. I took out the matches my mother had packed for me and lit the fire. I had to admit, my mother was impressive. It was almost like she had known I would successfully hunt something today and prepared everything in advance. The only problem was that we had no seasoning. A little salt would have made this perfect. After a while, the flames weakened and became glowing charcoal. I adjusted the fire, spreading the heat evenly. Then I placed the roe deer leg above the coals. Soon, the smell of roasting meat filled the air. The fat slowly melted under the heat. Oil dripped onto the charcoal, creating small bursts of smoke. Yangzi, is it ready yet? Chen Jigang stared at the meat with shining eyes and swallowed hard. Almost. Give it a few more minutes. I looked at his impatient expression and laughed. Taking out my knife, I made several cuts into the meat. Juice immediately flowed from the openings. I checked carefully. No blood remained. The inside was cooked perfectly. Exactly right. All right. Time to eat. Before I even finished speaking, Chen Jigang had already cut off a large piece and stuffed it into his mouth. It was obviously hot, but he refused to spit it out. Hot, but delicious. So good. Even without seasoning, freshly hunted and roasted roe deer meat was incredible. The outside was slightly crisp. The inside was tender and full of juice. There was no unpleasant smell at all. Combined with the corn buns, it was a meal that left both of us satisfied. Before long, the 4 or 5 kilograms of meat from the leg were completely gone. That meal really hit the spot. Chen Jigang leaned against a rock, using a small branch to clean his teeth. Yangzi, Should we head back now, or keep looking? Let's go down the mountain. I looked around. We can check along the way and see if we find anything else. Before leaving, I carefully poured water over the charcoal until it was completely extinguished. Then I dug a small hole, swept all the ashes inside, and covered it with soil. Only after confirming nothing was left behind did I leave with Chunji Gang that a fire in the mountains had to be handled carefully. Point one mistake could turn into a forest fire. I had learned that lesson from childhood. Anyone who caused a mountain fire would face serious consequences. On the way back, we managed to hunt one rabbit and collect some mushrooms. Other than that, there were no more surprises. By the time we left the mountain, evening was approaching at Chinjigang's house. We divided the meat that I refused his family's invitation to stay for dinner. Then I carried half of the roe deer meat and the rabbit and headed home. Qinyang just got back from the mountain. On the road, I met Qin Jingui, who had just finished work. Uncle Gui. I smiled. Yeah, just came back. He looked at the meat on my back, then suddenly lowered his voice. Yangzi, I heard your father brought you a wife today. They say that girl is beautiful. Looks like you're lucky. I couldn't help laughing. Uncle Gui, even you're gossiping now. Don't spread rumors about things that aren't confirmed. Rumors? A lot of people saw her. Chun Jingui looked like he had inside information. They say she's even prettier than Jinju. I could only smile. All right, it's getting late. You should head home. Sure. He laughed. You hurry back and meet your little wife. I waved goodbye and continued home. I didn't take his words seriously. People in this era had a different standard of beauty. Many villagers, a strong body and a healthy figure were signs of beauty. The Jinju he mentioned was considered the village beauty. A lot of young men liked her, Chunji Gang and the old Qinyang included, but that was before I had seen the wider world. After traveling around the globe in my previous life, my standards had naturally changed. The village beauty was still attractive, but compared with the women I had met during my adventures, she was ordinary. Along the way, I met several more villagers. Every single one brought up the same topic that I could only smile and brush it off. Finally, I reached home. The moment I stepped into the courtyard, I stopped. The setting sun painted everything in warm golden light. My mother, Zhang Cuiping, was sitting on a small stool picking vegetables. Beside her sat a girl I had never seen before. She wore a simple white dress with small floral patterns. A thought immediately appeared in my mind. Yuanwan. Was this the fiancée everyone had been talking about? She was washing vegetables with her head lowered. Her fingers were slender, and droplets of water slipped between them, sparkling under the sunset. A breeze moved the hair near her cheek. Perhaps it felt uncomfortable, because she naturally lifted her wet hand and tucked the loose strand behind her ear at a simple movement. But for some reason, my heart suddenly skipped. Then it started beating faster. I couldn't move my eyes away. She seemed to notice my gaze. She looked back. Our eyes met. For a moment, she was slightly surprised. Then she smiled gently and gave a small nod. That one expression caught me completely off guard. My throat suddenly felt dry. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. A ridiculous thought appeared in my mind. If it's her, maybe this arranged marriage isn't such a bad thing after all. Why are you standing at the door like an idiot? My father, Chun Janya, looked at me and frowned. I immediately snapped back. Nothing. I quickly looked away. I'm just tired. Let me catch my breath. From the side, Su Wenwan quietly looked at me. This was the first time she had seen her future husband. Seeing me standing there awkwardly, face slightly red and clearly nervous, she couldn't help finding it amusing that I looked completely different from what she had imagined. Simple clothes, but a straight posture. A calm confidence that was difficult to explain. Yangzi. My mother finally broke the silence. Don't just stand there. This is your Su uncle's daughter, Su Wenwan. Come say hello. I walked over. My eyes met hers again. This time, I clearly saw a faint blush appear on her cheeks. She lowered her eyes slightly and softly said, Hello, Qinyang. Her voice was gentle, like a feather brushing across my heart. My mind went blank. All the polite words I had prepared disappeared. After opening my mouth for a moment, I only managed, Hello. The atmosphere became slightly awkward. Then suddenly, a little boy ran out of the house. He rushed straight toward me. You're my future brother-in-law, right? My name is Su Wenhai. Everyone calls me Dodo. The 8-year-old boy smiled brightly. His innocent words immediately made my parents laugh. Su Wenwan and I both froze. Then our faces turned slightly red. She quickly returned to my mother's side and pretended to focus on washing vegetables that I, however, quickly smiled that I crouched down and rubbed Dodo's head. Yeah, I'm your future brother-in-law. My name is Chin Yang. I had always been straightforward that if I liked someone, I liked them to no need to pretend. Yes, that I had fallen for her at first sight. So what? Hearing my honest answer, Su Wenwan lowered her head slightly that a shy smile appeared in her eyes. Future brother-in-law, what's in the basket behind you? Dodo pointed curiously. Today's hunting harvest. I smiled. The moment I said that, my parents looked over. Even Su Wenwan quietly stopped washing vegetables and listened. What did you get today? My mother asked. I went into the mountain with Gongzi. We got a roe deer. And on the way back, I also caught a rabbit. My voice carried a little pride. Not bad. My father smiled while smoking his pipe. That's a good harvest. Of course. I grinned. With my skills, hunting is easy. My father laughed. Praise you a little, and you already get arrogant. He pointed at me with his pipe. Leave the meat with your mother. We'll eat it tonight. Now go wash yourself. You smell like sweat from 10 meters away. All right. I put down the basket and went inside to get clean clothes. During summer, men in the village rarely bathed at home. Most went to the small river outside the village. The place was open, the water was cool, and it was much more comfortable. As soon as Dodo saw me carrying clothes outside, his eyes lit up. Future brother-in-law, where are you going? To the river to wash. I'll come back and play with you later. I want to go too. Dodo immediately grabbed my leg. I want to take a bath. Dodo, don't be naughty. Su Wenwan turned around and gently scolded him. No, I want to go with my future brother-in-law. The little guy refused to let go. I looked down at the little attachment on my leg and laughed. It's fine. I'll watch him. Su Wenwan's cheeks turned slightly red. After hesitating, she finally agreed. All right. Dodo, you have to behave. She went inside, prepared clean clothes for him, and gave him a few reminders. Soon, I took Dodo to the river. I chose a shallow area. First, I helped him get used to the water temperature so he wouldn't suddenly go in and cramp up. Dodo sat in the shallow water with his back against a rock. The water only reached his stomach. The current was gentle. There was no danger. I moved slightly deeper and quickly washed myself while keeping an eye on him. But just a short while later, a scream suddenly came from behind me. Ah, future brother-in-law, help. Something bit me. Dodo's voice was full of fear. My heart immediately sank. In summer, water snakes sometimes appeared in these rivers. Could he have been bitten? My expression changed. I turned around and rushed toward him. The yellow shape burst out of the bushes. Bang! Bang! Chun Jigang and I fired almost at the same time. The gunshots echoed through the forest. The animal collapsed, its legs twitching slightly. Yangzi, it's a roe deer. We got one. Chun Jigang's face lit up with excitement. Huang Mao and He Tan had already rushed over, circling the fallen animal with their tails wagging. We lowered our rifles and walked closer. It was an adult male roe deer, judging from its size. It weighed at least 30 or 40 kilograms. Chun Jigang immediately pulled out his hunting knife and began processing the animal. A freshly hunted animal had to be drained quickly. Otherwise, the meat would lose its quality. While he worked, I crouched down and examined the bullet marks. One shot had hit the neck. The other had struck the front leg. The next shot was mine. I stared at the wound and frowned. I had aimed for the head. After spending more than a decade unable to move, my shooting skills clearly weren't what they used to be. Back when I traveled through Africa, my accuracy had been far better. But those days belonged to my old life. That'd be why the time I finished thinking. Chun Jigang had already finished cleaning the animal. Following my suggestion, we kept some of the useful parts, gave some of the organs to Huang Mao and He Tan, and left a portion hanging on a tree as a traditional offering to the mountain. By then, it was already past noon. Both of us were hungry, but this wasn't a good place to eat. The smell of blood could attract predators. The chance was small, but in the wilderness, caution kept you alive. We packed up the meat and moved away. Under Chun Jigang's guidance, we soon arrived at a clear mountain stream. I scooped up some cold water and washed my face. The refreshing chill instantly removed most of my exhaustion. The breeze over the stream was cooler than the surrounding forest. It was a perfect place to rest. Since we had finally gotten meat, there was no reason to eat only dry corn buns. I asked Gang to prepare one roe deer leg while I gathered firewood. Soon, we had built a simple roasting rack that I took out the matches my mother had packed and started a fire. I had to admit, my mother really knew how to prepare things. It almost felt like she had already expected me to come home with prey. The only thing missing was seasoning. That a little salt would have made it even better. Once the fire became charcoal, I adjusted the heat and placed the roe deer leg above it. The smell slowly spread through the forest. The fat melted and dripped onto the coals, creating small bursts of smoke. Yangzi, is it ready? Gang stared at the meat like he hadn't eaten in days. Almost. Give it a few more minutes. I checked the meat with my knife. The juices were clear, and the inside was cooked perfectly. All right, eat. The moment I said that, Gang immediately cut off a piece and stuffed it into his mouth. Even though it was hot, he refused to spit it out. Delicious. This is amazing. Without seasoning, freshly roasted roe deer meat was still incredible. The outside was crisp, the inside was tender and full of flavor. With the corn buns, it became a meal neither of us would forget. Soon, the entire roe deer leg was gone. That was satisfying. Gang leaned against a rock, smiling. Yangzi, should we keep searching or head back? Let's go down. I poured water over the fire, making sure every ember was dead. Then I dug a small hole, buried the ashes, and covered everything with soil. Only after confirming there was no danger left behind did we leave. A careless fire in the mountains could become a disaster. That lesson had been drilled into me since childhood. On the way back, we managed to catch a rabbit and collect some mushrooms. By evening, we finally left the mountains to Gang's home. We divided the meat that I refused his family's invitation to stay for dinner and carried my share home. Halfway there, I met Gui returning from work. Yang, just came back from the mountain. Yeah, Uncle Gui. He looked at the meat on my back and immediately smiled. Yangzi, I heard your father brought your future wife home today. They say that girl is beautiful. Looks like you're lucky. I laughed. Uncle Gui, even you're joining the gossip now? Don't talk about things that aren't confirmed. He waved his hand. Not gossip. Everyone has seen her. They say she's even prettier than Jinju. I could only smile and leave. Along the way, several villagers mentioned the same thing. Apparently, my fiancé's arrival had already become village news. When I finally reached home, I stopped at the entrance. The sunset covered the courtyard in golden light, but my mother, Zhang Ziping, sat there sorting vegetables. Beside her was a girl I had never seen before. She wore a simple white floral dress that a thought immediately appeared in my mind at Su11. She lowered her head, washing vegetables. The sunlight reflected off the water droplets on her fingers. A breeze moved the hair beside her face, and she casually tucked it behind her. It was a simple movement. Yet somehow, my heartbeat changed. She noticed me looking. She turned around. Our eyes met. For a moment, she looked surprised. Then she smiled gently. My mind went blank. That a strange thought appeared. If it's her, maybe this arranged marriage isn't impossible after all. Why are you standing there like an idiot? My father, Chun Jianya, looked at me. I immediately recovered. Nothing. I'm just tired. Su Wenwan quietly looked at me as well. This was her first time seeing her future husband. Seeing me standing there awkwardly, she found it slightly amusing. My mother finally called out. Yangzi, stop standing there. This is Su Wenwan, your Su uncle's daughter. Come say hello. I walked over. She looked up. A faint blush appeared on her face. Hello, Qinyang. Her voice was soft. My prepared greeting disappeared. After a pause, I only managed, hello. The awkward silence was broken when a small boy ran out. You're my future brother-in-law, right? My name is Su Wenhai. Everyone calls me Dodo. His innocent introduction made everyone laugh. Both Su Wenwan and I froze for a moment. Then we both looked embarrassed. I crouched down and rubbed the boy's head. Yes, I'm Qinyang, your future brother-in-law. Dodo pointed at my basket. What did you bring back? Today's hunting harvest. Everyone immediately looked over. I proudly explained. I went into the mountain with Gongzi. We got a roe deer and a rabbit. My father smiled. Not bad. I grinned. Of course. Hunting isn't difficult for me. My father laughed. Don't get too proud. He pointed toward the house. Leave the meat with your mother. Go wash up. You smell like sweat. All right. I grabbed some clean clothes and headed toward the river. During summer, villagers usually bathed outside. The river was cooler and more comfortable. Dodo immediately followed. Future brother-in-law, where are you going? To wash. I'm coming too. The little guy grabbed my leg.su and tried to stop him, but he refused. I laughed. It's fine. I'll watch him. Eventually, she agreed and prepared clean clothes for him to at the river. I found a shallow area that I helped Dodo adjust to the water temperature first, then let him sit safely near the shore. But I moved slightly deeper and began washing while keeping an eye on him. Then suddenly, future brother-in-law, help. Something bit me. My heart tightened. I in summer. Snakes could appear in the river. I immediately turned around and rushed over. But when I reached into the water, the feeling under my hand was strange. Not a snake. Something else that I grabbed firmly and pulled. Splash. A large carp, nearly 2 kilograms, came out of the water. The fish was still struggling in my hand. That it had already released Dodo. For a second, the little boy stared blankly. Then I laughed. Huh? Don't worry. It's just a fish. Dodo looked at the fish, still confused. That I quickly changed the situation. Dodo, you're amazing. You caught such a big fish. Most people couldn't do that. His eyes immediately brightened. Really? I caught it. Of course. The little guy's fear disappeared. He proudly lifted his chin. I caught a big fish. By the time we returned home, Dodo was already proudly showing everyone his catch. After hearing the story, the entire courtyard erupted in laughter. Dinner was served in a warm atmosphere. Tio welcomed Su-Wan and Dodo. My mother prepared the best meal. Su-Wan kept saying they had caused too much trouble, but she could clearly feel how sincerely my family accepted them. The anxiety of leaving home slowly faded. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she had somewhere to belong. After spending the afternoon together, my mother liked Su-Wan more and more. She was kind, hardworking, thoughtful. My mother even felt that her own son might not deserve such a good girl. Wan, you and Dodo sleep in Qinyang's room tonight. I already changed the bedding. That brat can sleep in the storage room. Men don't need much comfort. Su-Wan immediately refused. How can that work? Auntie, Dodo, and I can sleep outside. No need. My mother held her hand. Then she became more serious. Wan, my son isn't perfect. Sometimes he's careless. But he's honest and hardworking. If you think he's acceptable, we can arrange the marriage. Of course, if you don't like him, don't force yourself. You'll still be my daughter. You won't suffer here. Su-Wan lowered her head. She had expected this conversation. Before coming here, she had already made her decision. As long as the Chen family accepted her and Dodo, she was willing. Her parents were gone. She had to protect her younger brother. Her own feelings had seemed less important. But now, the Chen family treated them warmly, and Qinyang had already made a good impression on her. Everything seemed to have worked out. Auntie, she glanced at Qinyang, then softly said, I'm willing. My mother immediately smiled. Wonderful. She held Su-Wan's hand. Don't worry. If this boy ever treats you badly, tell me. I'll deal with him. Mom, I couldn't help laughing. Why are you saying that? If Wan is willing to marry me, I'll take care of her. I won't let her suffer. My mother looked at me seriously. Good. Remember what you said. That night, everyone went to rest. The village had no entertainment. People worked when the sun rose and slept when darkness came. I in the room. Su-Wan looked at Dodo sleeping soundly and smiled. She adjusted his blanket. Then she prepared to wash herself. But she suddenly realized she didn't know where the bathroom was. Everyone was already asleep. She didn't want to disturb anyone. After hesitating for a while, she finally knocked on Qinyang's door. Who is it? Qinyang's voice came from inside. A moment later, the oil lamp lit up. It's me. Su-Wan. The old wooden door opened. Wan? Why are you still awake? I want to wash, but I don't know where the bathroom is. Her voice was soft. The bathroom is the small wooden room beside the kitchen. I pointed toward it. She looked over. The room was there, but it was dark. She hesitated. Actually, I'm a little afraid of the dark. I almost smiled. Wan, what did you say? She lowered her head. I'm afraid of the dark. What? I didn't hear you. She looked up. I'm afraid of the dark. This time, there was a little embarrassment mixed with stubbornness in her voice. I finally laughed. All right. Don't worry. I'll wait outside. I took the oil lamp and walked her over. The small wooden room was illuminated by the warm yellow light. Inside was only an old wooden bucket and a piece of soap. Compared with modern life, everything was simple. I'll check if there's hot water. I went to the kitchen. The water left in the pot was no longer warm enough. So I added more water and lit the stove again. Growing up in the countryside, I was familiar with starting fires. Soon, the kitchen became warm from the flames. The water needs a little more time. I brought out 2 chairs. Sit here for a while. We sat quietly in the courtyard that I looked up at the stars that I couldn't remember the last time I had seen such a clear sky. In my previous life, pollution had hidden the stars behind a gray curtain. But here, the Milky Way seemed close enough to touch. Summer insects chirped. Fireflies drifted through the darkness. It's beautiful. Su Wenwan looked at the glowing insects. For a moment, she seemed lost in the peaceful scene. Then her expression slowly changed. The memories of losing her parents returned. She had always appeared strong, but she was still a young woman carrying burdens no one should have to carry alone. I noticed her silence. Gently, I held her hand. Wenwan, your parents may not be here anymore, but you're not alone. From now on, you have us. You and Dodo are family. She looked up at me. Her eyes were slightly red, but my words seemed to bring warmth back into them. After a moment, she smiled. I believe you. She rested her head lightly against my shoulder. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Eventually, I reminded her, the water should be ready. You should wash. She nodded. The awkwardness between us had disappeared without us realizing. When she returned with her clothes, the water was ready. I'll wait outside. If you need anything, call me. I sat back in the courtyard. The night was quiet. The stars were bright. Not long later, Su Wenwan finished washing and came outside. When she saw me, she immediately noticed something was wrong. That I was sitting there awkwardly, covering my nose. That a small amount of blood was visible. Qinyang, what happened? I quickly recovered. It's nothing. Probably because the roe deer meat was too nourishing. Maybe I got a little overheated. She looked at me suspiciously, but after a moment, she only nodded. Then rest early. Good night. After she left, I finally relaxed. This body was definitely different from my old one. A little too energetic. And apparently, even a simple meal of mountain meat could have unexpected consequences. The next morning, the production team's work horns sounded as usual, breaking the quiet of the countryside. The familiar sound pulled me awake. I felt a strange chill and looked down. The first thing I saw was the obvious evidence left on my oversized shorts. My face immediately turned red. Damn, that dream was way too realistic. I quickly looked around. Thankfully, nobody was in the courtyard. I hurriedly found a clean pair of clothes, changed, and secretly washed away the embarrassing evidence. Just as I finished hanging the wet shorts up to dry, a soft voice came from behind me. Qinyang, breakfast is ready. I turned around. Su Wenwan stood there quietly. Coming. I quickly washed up and walked toward the table. The whole family sat together for breakfast. After eating for a while, I put down my bowl and spoke seriously. Dad, Mom, I've thought about it. From now on, I want to focus on hunting in the mountains. As for farm work, I hesitated. I'm probably not very suited for it. Chunjanya looked at me for a moment, then nodded. If you've made up your mind, then do it properly. You're about to start your own family. You need a plan for the future. Don't worry. I smiled. I'll work hard. I'll make sure our family has meat on the table regularly. You little brat. My mother laughed. You really know how to talk big. Do you think hunting is that easy? These days, which family can eat meat every day? Haha. My older brother Chen Luo patted my shoulder. I believe in you. My little brother has always had ability. I raised my chin proudly. That's right. Your brother here is capable. Su Wenwan sat quietly, eating her corn bun. But from the corner of my eye, I noticed her looking at me. The confident expression on my face seemed to make her smile. After breakfast, my father and the others prepared to go work in the fields. I also gathered my equipment and prepared to head into the mountains. Before I left, Su Wenwan walked over. Qinyang, be careful in the mountains. Her voice was soft. Before I could reply, she quickly turned around and followed my father's group. Watching her leave, I couldn't help smiling. Then, full of energy, I headed toward Chun Jigang's house. On the way, Several villagers greeted me. My relationship with everyone in the village was pretty good. After saying hello, some of them gathered together and whispered among themselves that I didn't even need to guess. They were definitely talking about me and Su Wenwan to I in a village this small. Any news spread faster than wildfire. When I arrived at Gang's home, he was already waiting outside that we had agreed yesterday to go hunting again today. The moment he saw me, he grabbed his gear and brought the dogs along. After walking for a while, Gang suddenly leaned closer with a curious expression. Yangzi, I heard your father brought you a wife. Really? I smiled. So. He looked excited. Is your wife pretty? Is she prettier than Jinju? I raised my chin. My wife is much prettier than Jinju. There's no comparison. Gang froze. Prettier than Jinju? He didn't believe it. Jinju was considered the prettiest girl in the village. Even the educated youths who came from the city thought she was beautiful. Come on. You're exaggerating. How could anyone be prettier than Jinju? I don't believe you. I just shrugged. Believe it or not, my wife is prettier. Inside, I couldn't help laughing. Poor Gang's in his entire life. He probably hadn't seen many women outside this village. One village beauty was already enough to impress him. But I was different. I had seen the wider world. My standards were naturally higher. While talking, we reached the place where we had left the previous day's remains. The meat and organs we had hung for the mountain spirits were already gone. Something had taken them. Using my wilderness experience from my previous life, I quickly found several small animal trails nearby. Then I set up a few simple rope traps and placed bait around them. Any greedy animal passing by would get caught. After finishing the traps, we searched the surrounding area for a long time. Still nothing. Yangzi. Gang drank some water from his canteen. We've walked a lot today. How come we haven't even seen a rabbit? Animals in the mountains are smart. I wiped the sweat from my forehead. They have sharp ears and strong noses. The moment they smell humans, they disappear. Gang looked toward the deeper forest. His eyes became excited. Yangzi, should we go into the old forest? I was tempted too. But unlike him, I knew exactly how dangerous that place was. The outer areas still had traces of human activity. The old forest was different. The trees blocked the sunlight. The vegetation was dense. One mistake could leave you lost. But I also didn't want to return empty-handed. With my experience and 2 hunting dogs, it should be manageable. All right. Call Huang Mao and Heitan back. 1 dog each. Don't separate too far. Gang gave a whistle. The 2 hunting dogs quickly returned that we each held 1 leash and carefully entered deeper into the forest. The farther we went, the thicker the trees became. The light around us gradually dimmed that I moved carefully. Every so often, I stepped heavily on the ground or marked nearby trees with my mountain knife. After about half an hour, Huang Mao and Heitan suddenly lowered their bodies that a low growl came from their throats. They had found something that we immediately released the leashes. The 2 dogs shot forward. We followed. After only a few steps, a wild chicken suddenly burst from the grass. It flapped wildly into the air. That I reacted instantly. I raised my rifle. Bang! The wild chicken fell. Gang stared at me. Damn, Yangzi. When did your shooting become this good? I ignored him. The dogs hadn't even looked at the fallen bird. That meant their real target was something else. Gang went to collect the chicken that I continued following the barking. The trees ahead gradually became thinner. The view opened up, and then I saw that a frightened animal running ahead of Huang Mao and Heitan. Antlers. Brown fur. White spots across its body. That a full-grown spotted deer. That my eyes immediately lit up. A spotted deer was valuable. The meat was delicious. Almost every part of it had value. I raised my rifle. Shooting a moving deer was not easy. Even with my experience, I couldn't guarantee success. That I held my breath and my mind calculated the timing. The lead, the movement, the angle, the rifle shifted slightly. Then, I pulled the trigger. Bang! The spotted deer collapsed while running. Huang Mao and Heitan rushed forward. That I immediately followed. When I reached it, I saw clearly that it was a male deer. My shot had hit its back leg. The 2 hunting dogs had already controlled it. 1 held near the neck. The other controlled the leg. That I pressed the deer down and motioned for Heitan to release its bite. That a living deer was worth more than a dead one. Gangzi, bring the rope. My voice echoed through the forest. The deer was still struggling when Chun Jigang came rushing over, carrying the wild chicken in one hand. Coming, coming, what did you get? The moment he saw the animal on the ground, his eyes widened. No way, a spotted deer. Yangzi, you're incredible. Our village hasn't had anyone bring one of these back in years. His voice was so loud that my ears almost rang. Yep, same old Gongzi, still the loudest person in the mountains. All right, stop shouting. Get the rope out first. Tie the deer's legs. Oh, right. Chun Jigang immediately snapped back to reality. He pulled out a length of rope from his basket and quickly secured all 4 legs of the deer. The deer's back leg was still bleeding from where my shot had hit. I grabbed some dirt and pressed it against the wound. It was only temporary, but since we were taking it back anyway, stopping the bleeding was enough for now. The deer struggled for a moment, making some noise. I tied another piece of rope around its mouth to keep it quiet. This was a fully grown male spotted deer. Judging by its size, it probably weighed over 100 kilograms. But what caught my attention most was the pair of antlers on its head. They were large, with clear branches and fine velvet covering them. It was early July, the perfect time before the antlers hardened. Just these antlers alone could probably bring a very good price at the supply and marketing cooperative. Gongzi, we got a great harvest today. Let's head back. All right. Chun Jigang put down his basket, bent down, and with a powerful movement lifted the entire deer onto his shoulder. That guy really did have incredible strength. Even carrying a deer weighing over 100 kilograms, his steps remained steady. I walked ahead carrying my basket and leading the hunting dogs. Chun Jigang followed behind carrying the deer. When we reached the outer forest, I checked the traps we had set earlier. Unfortunately, the only thing caught was a small rat. I reset the trap. Then we officially started heading back down the mountain. Luckily, we didn't run into anyone on the way back. That saved us a lot of explaining. More than an hour later, we finally arrived at Chun Jigang's home. The moment we entered the yard, Chun Dabiao came outside after hearing the noise. When he saw the live spotted deer on his son's shoulder, his eyes immediately lit up. Wow, what a big spotted deer. And it's still alive. Dad, what do you think? Not bad, right? Chun Jigang proudly put the deer down and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Chun Dabiao glanced at his son with obvious dislike. Stop taking credit for yourself. I know exactly what kind of person you are. This deer was definitely shot by a Yang. Chun Jigang scratched his head and laughed awkwardly. Dad, you really know me. Uncle Dabiao. I stepped forward. You have a lot of experience. Could you help us handle this deer? Handling it is no problem. Chun Dabiao crouched down and examined the deer carefully. But I suggest keeping it alive until tomorrow morning. It's too hot right now. If we butcher it immediately, storing the meat will be troublesome. Tomorrow morning, we can process it while it's still fresh and send it to the supply cooperative. We'll get a better price. As expected, experience really mattered. He had considered everything. I nodded immediately. I asked for how to divide the deer. We followed the traditional hunting rules. The person who fired the shot got a share. The person who contributed effort got a share. Even the hunting dogs counted. Since I was the one who shot the deer, I would take 70%. Chun Jigang would take 30%. As for the wild chicken, I refused to take it. I insisted that Chun Jigang keep it. That was my way of making up for the rabbit I had taken yesterday. After saying goodbye to Chun Dabiao and his son, I headed home. From a distance, I could already see smoke rising from my family's kitchen chimney. Someone was preparing lunch. And since I came back early today, I arrived just in time. I put my equipment down in the corner of the yard. Then I immediately took off my shirt, which was soaked through with sweat. After spending the entire morning moving through the mountains, the wet fabric sticking to my body was extremely uncomfortable. Taking it off felt much better. I'm back. I called toward the house. Then I scooped up some water from the bucket and washed my face and arms. Inside the kitchen, Su Wenwan heard my voice. She quickly put down the pot lid, poured warm water into a metal cup, and prepared to bring it out. But the moment she stepped outside, she froze. Then her entire face turned bright red. I was standing in the yard without a shirt. The sunlight outlined my shoulders and body after a morning in the mountains. Water droplets still clung to my skin. Su Wenwan's cheeks became hot. Her heartbeat quickened. She immediately turned around. You, why aren't you wearing a shirt? I laughed when I saw her reaction. My clothes were completely soaked with sweat. Wearing them felt terrible. I didn't know it was you in the kitchen. I thought it was my mother. You should put your clothes back on. The water is here. I'm going back to check the food. She quickly placed the cup on the chair and escaped back into the kitchen. Watching her hurried footsteps, I couldn't help smiling. Girls from this era really were more innocent. Seeing someone without a shirt was enough to make them embarrassed like this that I didn't tease her any further. Instead, I went back inside and changed into dry clothes that I in the kitchen. Su Wenwan held the cooking spoon, but her mind was somewhere else entirely. That image from moments ago kept appearing in her thoughts. She covered her warm face with one hand and quietly reminded herself, Su Wenwan, don't think nonsense. After changing clothes, I came back out and drank the warm water she had prepared. I was just about to go into the kitchen and spend some more time talking with her when my father, mother, brother, and sister-in-law returned from work. Dodo followed behind them. The little guy was covered in mud. His face was dirty too, making him look like a tiny spotted kitten. Future brother-in-law. The moment Dodo saw me, he shouted happily and ran over. Second son, why are you back so early today? My mother put down her farming tools and looked at me curiously. My sister-in-law Li Mingyue also spoke gently. Did you fail to catch anything? It's all right if you didn't. Mountain hunting doesn't mean you can get something every day. Although Li Mingyue was my sister-in-law, in my heart she was more like an older sister. When I was young, my parents were often busy. She was the one who took care of me most of the time. Whenever there was something good to eat, she always thought of me first. I and the whole family. Besides my mother, she was the person I respected the most. Mom, sister-in-law. This time you guessed wrong. I bent down and picked up Dodo. Then I smiled proudly. Not only did I get something, I got something big. My mother looked around the yard. There was no sign of any animal. What did you get? Where is it? My father and everyone else also looked at me curiously. Today, I got lucky. I shot a male spotted deer. It weighs at least 200 or 300 jin. It's still alive. I left it at Uncle Dabiao's house for now. Tomorrow morning we'll process it and send it to the supply cooperative while it's fresh. Oh my goodness. My mother's face immediately lit up. That deer will bring in quite a bit of money. My father stood quietly nearby. He didn't say anything, but the look in his eyes carried rare approval. Over the past 2 days, he had watched everything I did. Somehow, it felt like his youngest son had suddenly grown up overnight. More dependable, more mature. My brother Chen Luo and Li Mingyue looked at each other and smiled. Their eyes were filled with pride. At the kitchen door, Su Wenwan had heard everything. She looked at my back quietly. Her eyes were shining. Yesterday, I had brought home a roe, deer, and a rabbit. Today, I had hunted a spotted deer. He's really amazing. Not only was he capable, but he was also kind and considerate toward her and Dodo. Without realizing it, the warmth in her heart grew stronger, and her feelings for Chen Yang quietly deepened. After lunch, the family rested for a little over an hour. The production team's work horn would not sound again until 2 in the afternoon. During this break, most villagers took the chance to nap and recover their energy, but I had no intention of sleeping. I was thinking about the traps I had set in the mountains that morning. This was the perfect time to go check them. After telling my family where I was going, I prepared to leave. But before I could step out, Su Wenwan quietly followed me. Xinyang, can I go with you? I want to see the mountains too. She looked up at me with bright eyes filled with curiosity and anticipation. I glanced at the blazing sun overhead. It's too hot right now. The mountains are tiring, and the forest gets even hotter. You should stay home and rest. The moment I refused, the light in her eyes faded. She didn't argue. She simply stood there quietly, looking at me. There was a little disappointment in her expression and a little stubbornness. Under that gaze, I quickly surrendered. For some reason, it felt like I had committed some terrible crime. All right. I'm convinced. I smiled helplessly. I'll take you with me. But once we're in the mountains, you have to stay close to me. Don't wander off. The moment she heard that I agreed, her gloomy expression instantly disappeared. A bright smile appeared on her face. Wait here for me. I'll get something. While she watched curiously, I went back inside and brought out 2 long strips of cloth. Then I walked over and naturally crouched down. I carefully tied her pant legs and wrapped the cloth around her lower legs. Mountain insects are everywhere. This will help keep them away. When I finished, I stood up and explained. Su11 looked down at the bindings around her legs. Then she looked at me. A gentle smile appeared on her face without her realizing it. All right, let's go. I picked up my basket and equipment. Just as we were about to leave, I suddenly remembered something. I turned around, grabbed a large straw hat, and gently placed it on her head. The wide brim covered most of her face. She looked even more innocent and delicate. The sun is strong. Wear this to block it. Okay. She adjusted the hat and looked at me. Don't you need one too? I'm a man. I don't need that. Su11 slightly puffed out her lips. She muttered quietly. What man? You're only 1 year older than me. You're just a little man. I turned my head. What did you say? Nothing. She quickly shook her head and caught up. The two of us walked toward the edge of the village. Her hands were folded behind her back. Every now and then, she playfully stepped on my shadow. Her long braids swayed gently behind her as she walked. She secretly glanced at me from time to time. A sweet smile stayed on her face. Walking beside me, even the summer heat seemed less intense. Everything around us felt bright and beautiful, just like her mood. When we passed Chinjigang's house, we saw the door was closed. He was probably still taking his afternoon rest. I decided not to disturb him. Instead, I took Su11 directly into the mountains. Once we entered the forest, I deliberately slowed my pace. This was her first time in the mountains. I wanted to take care of her. She looked around with endless curiosity, like a small deer exploring the world for the first time. Every tree and plant seemed new and fascinating to her. After walking for a while, I stopped and looked at her. Tired? Do you want to rest? No, I'm not tired. She shook her head. Her voice was light and cheerful. The excitement in it was impossible to hide. All right. If you get tired, tell me. We'll reach the traps in about 20 minutes. Okay. The time we spent alone seemed to pass quickly. Before long, we arrived at the area where I had placed the traps. Here we are. Come on, I'll show you the first one. I led her toward the first trap, but the result disappointed both of us. There was no animal. Even the bait was untouched. Nothing here. Let's check the next one. We checked the second, then the third, then the fourth, but every trap was empty. The excitement in our eyes slowly faded. We only have one trap left. I pointed deeper into the forest. It's a little farther away. You can wait here. I'll check it and come back. No, Su11 shook her head. Since there's only one left, let's go together. I sighed quietly. Originally, I had planned to show off a little in front of her. Who would have thought these traps would fail so badly? The two of us headed toward the final trap. Before we even reached it, we heard a sound. Cluck, cluck. My eyes immediately lit up. That sound meant the final trap had caught something. Is that a chicken? Su11 heard it too. She looked at me excitedly. Yeah, sounds like we caught a wild chicken. Let's hurry and see. She became so excited that she didn't even think about it. She grabbed my hand and pulled me forward. The moment her soft hand touched mine, I froze. Wait, did we just hold hands? The next second, I couldn't stop myself from smiling. That I immediately tightened my grip around her hand. Su11 felt my warm hand holding hers. Her footsteps suddenly stopped. Only then did she realize what she had done. Her entire face turned red. Oh no, that I actually grabbed Qinyang's hand first. She wanted to pull away, but I held on tighter. Of course I knew she had realized it. But now that I finally had her hand in mine, how could I let go? Her small hand was soft and warm. That I honestly wished I could keep holding it forever. My heart was beating quickly, but I pretended nothing unusual had happened. The sound is coming from ahead. We're almost there. I continued walking while holding her hand. Su11 tried pulling away twice. When she failed, she lowered her head shyly. She simply let me hold her hand, like a little bird following beside me. When we reached the trap, we finally saw the catch. A wild chicken weighing around 2 kilograms had one leg caught in the rope. That it was struggling on the ground. When it saw us approach, it flapped even harder. I had no choice but to release Su11's hand and deal with the chicken. Inside, I felt a little regret. That path was way too short. Why did we arrive so quickly? The moment my hand left hers, Su11 immediately pulled her hand back. She nervously fixed her hair. You handle it here. I'll look around nearby. Her voice was quiet. Her eyes avoided mine. Seeing how embarrassed she was, I found her adorable. but I knew she was SHYS. Oh, I didn't tease her. All right. Don't go too far. If anything happens, call me. I picked up a sturdy branch from the ground. After trimming it slightly with my knife, I handed it to her. The grass is thick in summer. There might be snakes. Use this to hit the grass in front of you while walking. Okay, I understand. Su Wenwan took the branch and turned away with a red face that I watched her back and couldn't help smiling. Then I turned back to the wild chicken. Luckily, the trap had only caught its leg that it didn't need to be killed immediately. I tied it up and placed it into my basket. After that, I removed the old trap and prepared a new one in another location. A place that had already caught prey usually had a much lower chance of catching something again. Of course, there were exceptions. Just as I finished setting up the new trap, Su Wenwan's voice suddenly came from a distance. Qinyang. Her tone sounded urgent. I immediately turned toward her. By the time I finished resetting the trap, Su Wenwan's voice suddenly came from a short distance away. Qinyang, come here quickly. There are so many mushrooms. Her voice was filled with excitement. All right, stay there and don't move around. I'll be right there. I quickly gathered my things and walked toward her. Pushing aside a patch of waist-high bushes, I saw Su Wenwan crouching beneath a large tree. Her eyes were shining as she stared at the ground. The branch I had given her earlier was resting beside her. Look. She pointed toward a small patch of mushrooms beneath the shade. There are so many. We're really lucky today. I walked closer and crouched down to examine them carefully. There were mushrooms of many different colors and shapes. Some looked bright and beautiful. Others had strange patterns. After checking them carefully, I frowned slightly. Wenwan. I pointed at several colorful mushrooms. These ones can't be eaten. This red one, and this spotted one. They're poisonous. Poisonous. The excitement on Su Wenwan's face immediately disappeared. Her lips slightly lowered. I thought we could add another dish. Seeing her disappointed expression, I couldn't help feeling a little soft-hearted. She looked like a little animal that had just been caught in the rain. Don't be disappointed. I pointed towards several ordinary-looking gray-brown mushrooms nearby. These may not look special, but they're edible. These are pine mushrooms. They taste very good. And those over there are oyster mushrooms. Those can be eaten too. Really? Her eyes instantly brightened again. The speed of her emotional change made me want to laugh. So, we can pick these? Of course. I'll teach you how to recognize them. I patiently explained the differences between the edible mushrooms. The color, shape, and texture are different. Pine mushrooms usually have gray-brown caps and thicker stems. Oyster mushrooms grow in clusters, like small fans. Su Wenwan listened carefully. She nodded from time to time. Then she happily began collecting mushrooms. She carefully avoided the poisonous ones and only picked the mushrooms I had identified. Her movements were gentle, almost as if she was handling treasures. Ah. Suddenly, she reached toward a cluster of mushrooms growing behind a tree root. But her foot slipped on the moss. Her body immediately lost balance and fell backward. Careful. I reacted instantly. I rushed forward and caught her around the waist. Using the momentum, I turned and placed myself underneath her. The two of us fell to the ground together. The soft earth absorbed most of the impact that my back hit the ground with a dull thud, but my arms still protected her tightly. Su Wenwan slowly opened her eyes. Then she froze. She was lying on top of me, and by complete accident, our lips had touched. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. Her eyes widened, a deep blush spread across her face. Even her ears turned red. Like she had been burned, she quickly pushed herself up. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Are you hurt? I was also stunned for a moment. The brief softness still lingered. My heartbeat sped up slightly. But seeing how embarrassed she was, I quickly calmed myself down. I'm fine. The ground is soft. What about you? Did you get hurt? I'm fine. She lowered her head and avoided looking at me. Her fingers nervously twisted the corner of her clothes. I was about to stand up when something nearby caught my attention. A patch of thick grass beside me suddenly made me stop. Among the green leaves were several small reddish berries. I carefully moved the grass aside. A unique plant appeared in front of me. Compound leaves. Small red fruits a familiar shape. My breathing became slightly heavier. Could this be wild ginseng? Wenwan. Don't move yet. My voice became slightly hoarse from excitement that I carefully cleared away the surrounding grass and examined the plant. What's wrong? Seeing my serious expression, Su Wenwan forgot her embarrassment and leaned closer. What did you find? I took a deep breath. We might have found something valuable. This looks very much like wild ginseng. Ginseng. She covered her mouth in surprise, her eyes widened. The valuable medicinal herb? Yes. I carefully studied the leaves and gently cleared away some soil around the root. Look at the root structure. The growth pattern suggests this plant has been here for many years. Su Wenwan looked excited but nervous. Should we dig it up? Yes, but we have to be extremely careful. I took out my small digging tool. The fine roots are very valuable. If we damage them, the price will drop. You help me clear the soil around it. I'll slowly dig. The two of us worked together. I carefully loosened the soil. She gently brushed away the dirt. Both of us were afraid of damaging the delicate roots. The earlier embarrassment disappeared completely. We became completely focused on the task. After more than 2 hours of careful work, the entire ginseng plant was finally removed. The main root was thick. The smaller roots were long and complete. Its shape was almost like a human figure. Perfect. I let out a long breath. I immediately wrapped the ginseng carefully with moss and placed it at the top of the basket. Then I covered it with soft grass for protection. We really had a great harvest today. I smiled at Su Wenwan. I lifted the tied wild chicken. We got a wild chicken. We found mushrooms. And we found ginseng. All thanks to you. Su Wenwan smiled shyly. But the wild chicken was caught because of your trap. But you found the mushrooms and the ginseng. I looked at her warmly. Come on, Miss Lucky. We should go home. Digging up the ginseng took so long that it's almost evening. The sun was already moving toward the horizon. Golden light spread through the forest that I lifted the basket containing the ginseng and mushrooms that I carried the wild chicken in one hand. Then I naturally reached my other hand toward her. The mountain path is difficult. I'll hold your hand. Su Wenwan's face turned red again. But this time, she didn't hesitate. She gently placed her hand into mine. This time, holding hands felt different. There was more trust, more closeness, and a quiet sweetness between us on the way home. She asked curiously, "How much do you think this ginseng is worth?" "It depends on its quality and age. This one looks very good. It should be worth quite a bit. I'm not sure about the exact price. We'll ask my parents when we get back." I tightened my grip on her hand. "When we sell it, we can use the money to build a new house." My eyes rested gently on her. She understood the meaning behind my words. Warmth filled her heart. She lowered her head and smiled quietly. When we returned to the village entrance carrying our harvest, the setting sun stretched our shadows across the ground. The two shadows overlapped. Outside Chen Dabiao's house, Chen Jigang sat on a small stool plucking feathers from the wild chicken he had caught. That a pile of feathers had already gathered around his feet. From a distance, Su Wenwan noticed him. Like a startled deer, she quickly pulled her hand away from mine. Her footsteps also slowed slightly, creating a small gap between us. "Gongzi, busy working?" I walked closer with Su Wenwan and greeted him with a smile. Hearing my voice, Chen Jigang looked up while continuing to work. "Yangzi, you're back. I'm cleaning this chicken. I'll stew it tonight." He glanced at me. "You went into the mountains again?" "Yeah. I just went to check the traps. I passed by and saw your door closed, so I didn't call you." I nodded. Then I stepped slightly to the side, letting Su Wenwan come into his view. Chen Jigang naturally looked toward the girl beside me. His expression showed curiosity. "How was the harvest?" "And this is..." My smile became even bigger. "Let me introduce you. This is my fiancée, Su Wenwan. Wenwan, this is my childhood friend, Chen Jigang. You can just call him Gongzi." Chen Jigang immediately put down the chicken. He wiped his hands on his pants and stood up with an honest smile. "Sister-in-law, hello. My name is Chen Jigang." "Hello." Su Wenwan's cheeks turned slightly red. She lifted her head and greeted him softly. Earlier, with her head lowered and the straw hat covering part of her face, Chen Jigang hadn't seen her clearly. But now, under the glow of the setting sun, her face was fully visible. Her features were delicate. Her skin was fair, and she carried a gentle, graceful feeling that was rare among village girls. Chen Jigang froze, his mouth opened slightly. For a long moment, he completely forgot to speak. the expression on his face was so exaggerated that it almost looked funny that I watched my friend's reaction. The pride in my heart nearly overflowed that I tried to keep a straight face. But the corners of my mouth kept rising that it was harder to suppress than anything that I cleared my throat. Only then did Qin Jigang finally come back to his senses. Yangzi, sister-in-law, you two go ahead. I'll finish cleaning the chicken. His dark face even showed a little embarrassment. He quickly crouched back down. But every now and then, he still couldn't help sneaking another glance towards Su Wenwan. I laughed silently. After exchanging a few more words with him, I continued walking home with Su Wenwan on the dirt road back to the village. We happened to meet several villagers returning after work. The moment they saw the beautiful girl walking beside me, everyone became curious. Yangzi, is this the fiancé your father brought back for you? An older woman smiled and asked. I answered openly. Yes, auntie. This is my fiancé, Su Wenwan. Oh my, what a beautiful girl. Standing together with Yangzi, you two really look like a perfect match. Everyone offered sincere praise. Yangzi, when are you getting married? You have to invite us for wedding drinks. A familiar villager joked. I looked at Su Wenwan beside me. Her face was red. Her head was lowered shyly. I smiled and answered loudly. Uncle, we're still choosing a date. When everything is settled, I'll personally invite everyone to celebrate. Surrounded by laughter and blessings, we continued toward home. Although Su Wenwan was embarrassed, hearing everyone's praise made her heart feel incredibly sweet. When we reached the courtyard, my mother immediately came outside. You're finally back. Wenwan, you must be exhausted. Qinyang, you really are something. You took Wenwan out for so long. She pulled Su Wenwan closer and carefully checked her. My father also came out holding his tobacco pipe. He frowned at me. The mountain paths are dangerous. There are snakes and insects everywhere. How could you take Wenwan into the mountains? Before I could answer, Su Wenwan quickly spoke. Uncle, please don't blame Qinyang. It was my idea. I asked him to take me. Seeing her defend me, warmth spread through my chest. I looked at my family. Then I held back my excitement and deliberately put on a mysterious expression. Dad, Mom. We had a huge harvest in the mountains today. Oh, did one of the traps catch something big? My father looked interested. Even better, I motioned for everyone to go inside. After closing the door, I carefully took out the item wrapped tightly in moss from my basket. Slowly, I removed the layers of protection that a complete wild ginseng appeared in front of everyone. The room instantly became silent. Only the sound of heavy breathing remained. A moment later, my mother sucked in a breath and my father suddenly stood up and stepped closer. His fingers trembled slightly as he carefully examined the root. He studied the shape, the root lines, and the old outer skin for a long time. Then he finally spoke in disbelief. Looking at the root marks and the color, this ginseng has grown for at least 30 years. This is a valuable treasure. Everyone was stunned by the unexpected surprise. Their eyes stayed fixed on the ginseng on the table. After calming down, the family sat together and discussed what to do. My father thought for a moment. Selling it through the supply cooperative would be safe. But the price would definitely be lower. I'm thinking, maybe tonight we should go to the county black market. There's some risk, but the price could be much better. I agreed immediately. Dad, I'll go with you tonight. All right. Ayang will come with me. Aluo, you stay home and watch the family. My father looked at my brother and me. Once everything was decided, uncontrollable happiness filled the small house. That I rolled up my sleeves. To celebrate this good news, tonight, I'm cooking. We'll have wild chicken with potatoes. The moment I said that, everyone turned to look at me. My older sister-in-law hesitated. Little brother, maybe let me do it. My mother nodded. Yeah. Let your sister-in-law or me cook. You shouldn't waste ingredients. I couldn't blame them. I rarely cooked before, and the few times I did, the results were terrible. No, tonight you'll all see what it means when someone changes completely. I'm not the same Qinyang anymore. With that, I turned and walked into the kitchen, lighting the fire, cleaning the chicken, preparing the ingredients. Everything was done smoothly. My family, who had been worried at first, slowly became shocked. Since when did this kid become so skilled? He seemed even more practiced than people who cooked every day. Not long after, a rich aroma spread from the kitchen. When the large bowl of wild chicken stewed with potatoes was placed on the table, the entire family praised it to my mother kept saying my cooking had improved at my father was so satisfied that he drank a little extra sun quietly watched me. From cooking confidently in the kitchen to laughing and talking with the family afterward, the admiration in her eyes grew stronger to her. It seemed like there was nothing I couldn't do. Late at night, the moon hung above the branches that my father and I quietly got up. He wrapped the ginseng carefully in an old cloth. Then he placed it close against his body where it would be safest. We looked at each other, and no words were needed. We both nodded. Then father and son disappeared silently into the night. Together, we walked toward the county town. That night, the moon was bright. Under the glow of moonlight and stars, my father and I could see the road clearly even without a flashlight. In this era, many people struggled just to get enough food. Their bodies lacked proper nutrition, and once darkness fell, their eyesight became poor. Night blindness was common among villagers. Fortunately, my father and I were different. Our eyesight was excellent. In another life, we probably could have qualified as pilots. Along the way, we occasionally encountered other people traveling through the night. Judging from their clothing, they were likely heading to the black market as well. Everyone had their faces covered with cloth, revealing only their eyes, and one spoke. Everyone kept their heads lowered and hurried forward, maintaining a silent understanding to keep their distance. After walking for more than 2 hours, we finally reached a forest about 3 miles outside the county town. This was the entrance to the black market. The moment we stepped into the woods, 2 men carrying hunting rifles suddenly appeared from the shadows. Buying or selling? The taller man looked at us. If you're buying, it's 1 dime per person. If you're selling, it's 2 dimes per person. Selling. My father answered calmly and took out 4 dimes from his pocket. The man accepted the money and lowered his voice. Go forward 500 meters. Take the second turn. Then go another 300 meters and take the last turn. After giving the directions, he turned around and walked toward the people arriving behind us. My father led me deeper into the forest. I leaned closer and asked quietly, Dad, what did he mean by those directions? That's the route to the black market. There are many paths inside this forest. The location changes every day. Without someone guiding you or giving exact directions, you'd never find it. I nodded in understanding. So that's how it works. These people are really careful. My father shook his head. Running a black market could get you executed if you were caught. If they weren't careful, their graves would already be covered in weeds. After twisting through several paths, we finally arrived at the black market. The place was crowded. People moved around everywhere. Different kinds of goods were spread across the ground, and my father found an empty spot, squatted down, placed a piece of cloth on the ground, and carefully put the wild ginseng on top. Not long after, people began coming over to inspect it. Nobody spoke. Instead, they would secretly reach their hands into my father's sleeve and use their fingers to indicate prices. This was the traditional method of negotiating in the black market. Several people made offers, but none satisfied my father. Since this was my first time visiting a black market, curiosity got the better of me. I told my father I would look around and started walking through the market. What I saw opened my eyes. Rice, flour, and cooking oil were nothing unusual, but here, people were even selling used shoes, old blankets, pots, bowls, and household items. The strangest thing was a stall selling a second-hand chamber pot. The smell hit me from far away. I covered my nose and quickly walked past. Seriously, someone actually buys this. But as I continued deeper into the market, I saw something that made my expression turn serious. Someone was selling a child, a little girl around 5 or 6 years old. The asking price was 10 yuan. Nearby, a woman sat beside a rolled-up blanket. At first, I thought she was selling bedding, but I soon realized the truth. She was selling herself. I watched as a man in his 50s walked over and spoke with her briefly. He handed her 1 yuan. The woman picked up her blanket and silently followed him into the nearby woods. Seeing this scene, I felt a heavy feeling in my chest. This era, people really were living through difficult times. Just then, someone caught my attention. Unlike the others, this man stood out immediately. He wore a black hat and a golden watch shone brightly on his wrist. Behind him followed 2 strong-looking men who appeared to be bodyguards. Wherever he went, Every seller greeted him respectfully. Seeing this, I immediately understood. This person was clearly a regular here, and he definitely had some status. I casually moved closer to the stall he was visiting. On the surface, I looked like I was checking the goods. In reality, I wanted to hear their conversation. Lanyi, these are the wild cistanche and astragalus I dug up a few days ago. Take a look at the quality. The seller spoke enthusiastically. The man called Lan Yi picked up some herbs. He shined a flashlight on them, then brought them closer and smelled them. The quality is acceptable. Unfortunately, the age is a little too short. Pack them all for me. Sure. The seller immediately smiled and began wrapping the herbs. I was secretly surprised. This guy was really generous. He didn't even bargain. Only then did the seller notice me. Little brother, sorry. Lan Yi is buying all my herbs. I thought you were here to buy some. I'm not here to buy herbs. I smiled. I'm here to sell medicinal materials. Then I looked toward Lan Yi. Lan Yi, I have something valuable. I wonder if you're interested. Oh, Lan Yi looked at me with interest. As long as it's good stuff, I'm interested. What are you selling? I lowered my voice. A wild ginseng with some age. Lan Yi's eyes immediately brightened. An old wild ginseng? Where is it? Bring it to me. It's with my father. If it's convenient, I can take you there. All right. Lan Yi nodded. He brought one bodyguard with him. The other stayed behind to finish paying for the herbs. I led them back to my father's stall. When I saw the ginseng still lying there, I secretly let out a breath of relief. I had been worried that my father might have already sold it. That would have been a disaster. Lan Yi, this is the one. I dug it out from the mountain this evening. I pointed at the ginseng. Lan Yi immediately turned on his flashlight. He squatted down and carefully examined it. The moment he saw its appearance, satisfaction appeared on his face. After carefully checking every detail, he finally nodded. Not bad. This is a 136-year-old wild mountain ginseng. A rare treasure. I'll take it. Then he looked at me. Little brother, I'll offer 4,000 yuan. How about it? I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I looked at my father. My father gave a slight nod. The price was not only acceptable, that it was actually quite generous. Deal. I'll wrap it up for you. I carefully packed the ginseng again. Lan Yi took the ginseng. Then he accepted a small bag from his bodyguard. From inside, he took out 4 stacks of brand new banknotes and handed them over. I forced myself to stay calm. My hands trembled slightly as I accepted the money. Then I immediately handed it to my father. My father carefully counted every bill. The amount is correct. Good. Then we're settled. Lan Yi smiled. Little brother, if you find any more good things in the future, come find me. My name is Lan. I live at East Alley, number 28, in the county town. Of course, if we find anything valuable, you'll be the first person we contact. I smiled and nodded. After Lan and his people left, my father and I immediately prepared to return home. With such a large amount of money on us, the sooner we got home, the safer we would feel. I wanted to buy some things tonight. But since we had walked here, carrying extra goods back would be inconvenient. We decided to come back tomorrow and borrow the production team's ox cart. That would make transporting supplies much easier. With excitement still filling our hearts, my father and I left the black market. But shortly after we walked away, 3 or 4 figures quietly followed behind us in the darkness. The forest path was quiet, with a huge amount of money hidden on them. My father and I unconsciously quickened our pace. This sudden fortune brought more than just happiness. It also brought danger. My father, a veteran who had survived the flames of war, had a sense for danger far beyond ordinary people. Not long after leaving the black market, he noticed something was wrong. While continuing forward, he quietly paid attention to the movement behind us. I was no ordinary person either. My years of extreme exploration in my previous life had trained my instincts to sense danger. That moment, I also felt a faint uneasiness. It was as if there were eyes watching us from the darkness. Sure enough, after we had left the black market area for some distance, my father suddenly slowed down. Using the excuse of adjusting his shoes, he glanced backward from the corner of his eye. His expression immediately became serious. Under the dim moonlight, several shadows could be faintly seen moving between the trees. They were following us. Not too close, not too far, keeping the perfect distance. Yangzi, be careful. My father's voice was extremely low, But his tone was calm and steady. That it was the same tone he must have used during those years when he moved behind enemy lines. Some rats are following us. 3 or 4 of them. They're carrying weapons. One of them is tall and looks like he has a hunting rifle. My heart tightened. I instinctively wanted to turn around, but my father stopped me with a glance. Don't panic. They have more people than us, and they have a gun. If we fight directly, we'll suffer. His sharp eyes scanned the terrain ahead as his mind rapidly calculated. We can't lead them back to the village. Further ahead is Eagle Gorge. The road there is dangerous, and the forest is dense. We'll use the terrain there and deal with them. When he said the last words, his eyes flashed with coldness. Against people who robbed and murdered travelers, he had no sympathy. I immediately understood what my father meant, and my heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Kill them? Just thinking about it made my throat dry. But I knew my father was right at this moment. It was either them or us. My father quickly formed a plan. Listen carefully. There's a bend at the entrance of the gorge. There's a pile of rocks beside the road. That's a perfect place for an ambush. Later, you try to draw their attention. I'll take care of the one with the hunting rifle and the person beside him. You use this gun and handle the other 2. Once we move, there can be no hesitation. As he spoke, my father pulled out a pistol from behind his waist and handed it to me. Then he drew a dagger for himself. I took a deep breath. I can do it. My voice was steady. At least, I tried to make it steady. The 2 of us quickened our pace. From the outside, it looked like we were simply eager to get home. But in reality, we were quietly guiding the people behind us toward the place we had chosen. When we reached the pile of rocks, my father made a hand signal. We immediately disappeared into the darkness behind the stones, holding our breath, waiting. The sound of footsteps slowly approached, along with heavy breathing. Damn it! Where are they? Those 2 bastards can really walk. They must have something valuable. Look at how full their pockets are. Once we finish this job, we'll have enough money to enjoy ourselves for half a year. Keep moving. Catch up with them. You 2 go ahead. We'll drink some water and catch up. 4 figures appeared under the moonlight. The last one was a thin, tall man. A worn-out single-barrel hunting rifle hung over his shoulder. The other 3 carried shining knives or machetes. The moment the last 2 stopped to drink water, my father moved, like a hidden predator suddenly attacking. His body exploded forward. A sharp strike hit the tall man's neck. At the same time, his foot swept the man's legs. The gunman fell instantly. Before he could react, my father's blade flashed. The man beside him finally realized something was wrong. He immediately rushed forward with a knife. But my father's eyes remained cold. He rolled sideways, avoiding the attack. Then he kicked the attacker's leg. The man lost balance and fell. Before he could stand again, my father had already grabbed his head. With a powerful twist, a cracking sound echoed. The struggle ended instantly. At almost the same moment, my gun fired. Bang, bang. 2 shots shattered the silence of the night. The 2 men walking ahead heard the sound and turned around. They charged back with knives in their hands. But they never reached us. The bullets struck them from behind. The battle started suddenly and ended even faster. My father walked toward the fallen men without hesitation. The forest soon returned to silence. Only the smell of blood remained, and the heavy breathing of the 2 of us. I stared at the bodies on the ground. The warmth that still remained. The metallic smell filling the air. Everything hit me at once. My stomach twisted violently. I suddenly turned away and rushed to the side. Leaning against a rock, I began vomiting. My face turned pale. This was my first time taking a life. Even though these people were criminals, even though they came here to rob and kill us, the impact of ending another person's life was still overwhelming. My body trembled. My father silently walked over. He didn't say anything. He simply patted my back firmly. Looking at my reaction, his eyes showed complicated emotions. But more than anything, there was determination. He picked up the abandoned hunting rifle and searched the criminals. He found some money, ration coupons, and knives. Then he spoke in a low voice. Once you finish throwing up, you'll be fine. Remember this. We don't look for trouble. But when trouble comes to us, we don't run. For people who want to harm us, showing mercy is being cruel to ourselves. Come on. We need to clean this place. I straightened up, wiped my mouth, and forced myself to calm down. Together, my father and I dragged the four bodies to the edge of the ravine. The steep drop and rushing water below would erase all traces. Let's go. We'll take a longer route back. Don't tell your mother about tonight. I don't want her worrying. Understood. For the rest of the journey, we stayed even more alert. We chose hidden paths, took unnecessary detours, avoided anyone we might encounter. Only around 2 or 3 in the morning did we finally see the vague outline of Chun family village. When we stepped into the yard with exhausted bodies, my mother and Su Wenwan immediately rushed out. They had been waiting all night. Seeing that we had returned safely, their worried hearts finally relaxed. Your father, why did it take you so long? Did something happen? My mother looked at us with concern. My father smiled calmly. We spent extra time finding someone who knew the value of the ginseng. Nothing happened. Everything went smoothly. I looked at my father, the calm man standing before me, the gentle expression on his face, the relaxed tone in his voice. It was impossible to connect him with the cold and decisive figure I had just seen in the forest, the man who had ended 4 lives without hesitation. Qin Yang. Su Wenwan carefully noticed my pale face. Are you all right? Are you exhausted? I forced a smile. I'm fine. I just walked too fast. I'll rest and be okay. All right. My father waved his hand. It's almost morning. Everyone should go rest. Anything else can wait until tomorrow. Back in my room, I lay down on the Kong. My body was exhausted, but my mind was chaotic, and no matter how tired I was, I couldn't fall asleep. The scene from the forest kept replaying in my mind. The gunshots, the blood, the moment life disappeared. After closing my eyes for only a short while, a gentle knock sounded at the door. I got up and opened it. Su Wenwan was standing outside. She was holding a basin of hot water. I saved some hot water for you. Soak your feet. It'll help you relax and sleep better. She walked inside, placed the basin down carefully, then handed me a warm towel. Here, wipe your face. I looked at the steaming water, then at the clean towel in her hands. A warmth suddenly filled my chest. A feeling I couldn't describe surged through me. In my previous life, in this one, other than my mother, Su Wenwan was the first woman who had ever prepared hot water for my feet, the first woman who had ever handed me a warm towel. And at that moment, the coldness and fear buried deep inside my heart slowly began to fade. The warmth in my chest surged. Looking at Su Wenwan under the dim lamplight, her gentle expression made something inside me move. Before I realized it, I reached out, lightly held her wrist, and pulled her into my arms. The sudden embrace completely froze Su Wenwan. Her mind went blank. All she could hear was her own heartbeat pounding like a drum. Thank you, Wenwan. I buried my face beside her neck, my voice low and filled with gratitude. My arms tightened around her unconsciously. My warm breath brushed against her ear, sending a faint shiver through her. Half of her body felt numb. The nervousness and stiffness she had felt slowly melted away inside my embrace. She hesitated for a moment. Then, finally, she raised her hands and gently wrapped them around my waist. Her voice was soft. All right, wash your feet quickly. The water will get cold. Only then did I slowly let go. I took the towel from her hand and casually wiped my face. The smile I couldn't hide appeared on my lips. Su Wenwan lowered her eyes slightly and whispered, I'm going back to rest. You should sleep early too. I watched her leave, watching the door gently close behind her. I stood there for a while before finally calming myself down. I placed my feet into the warm water. A wave of comfort spread through my body. The tension that had been weighing on me slowly disappeared. Leaning against the chair, I let out a long breath. It felt as if I was finally releasing all the fear and heaviness from that night. After washing my feet, I returned to bed. Surprisingly, the restless emotions that had been surging inside me earlier had already settled. Su Wenwan's kindness was like quiet moonlight. Without making a sound, it smoothed away the cracks in my heart. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly at peace. Wrapped in that peaceful feeling, sleep finally came. At 5 in the morning, the sky was still dark. The loudspeaker at the village production team suddenly rang out, repeatedly calling all villagers to participate in collective labor. But I felt like I had only just closed my eyes before being dragged awake. Heavy sleepiness pressed down on my eyelids. After struggling for a while, I finally opened my eyes. I sat up in a daze and shook my head, trying to wake myself. Although my whole body was exhausted, I couldn't delay. Collective labor was mandatory, except for young children. Everyone who was capable of working had to participate. There was no room for negotiation. After washing up, I went outside. My sister-in-law Li Mingyue had already prepared breakfast. Around the table, only my older brother, sister-in-law, and little Dodo looked energetic. The rest of us were yawning constantly, our eyes still heavy with sleep. His father, why did they suddenly announce collective labor today? My mother asked while serving porridge. Not sure. Maybe there's a new task from above. My father answered after swallowing his steamed cornbread. Hopefully it's not railway construction. My older brother Chen Luo sighed. His face was full of worry. The last time we built railways, that suffering was unforgettable. Even now, he still remembered the unbearable heat from the railway work. The hot asphalt and wooden sleepers had left his skin peeling. Right, Dad. How much did we sell that old ginseng for last night? Chen Luo suddenly remembered and his eyes brightened. The moment he said that, everyone except me immediately looked toward my father. That 36-year-old ginseng. My father looked around the table. It sold for 4,000 yuan. 4,000? Good heavens. We're rich. Our family can finally live comfortably. For a moment, everyone froze. Then the entire room erupted with excitement. My mother smiled so widely that her eyes narrowed. Even the sleepiness disappeared completely. All right, eat first. We have to gather soon. We'll talk about the money tonight. My father's words brought everyone back to reality. They suppressed their excitement and quickly finished breakfast. After eating, our family arrived at the village square. The area was already packed with people. Almost everyone from Red Flag Brigade had arrived. The brigade leader, Chun Changjun, announced the task. The higher authorities needed a batch of timber. Several nearby brigades would be responsible for cutting trees in the mountains. After the announcement, everyone returned home to collect tools and prepare. The morning of heavy labor passed quickly. That I sat on a tree stump during a break. My shirt was off. Sweat soaked my hair and continuously dripped down my face. My bronze-colored skin reflected the sunlight. This sudden physical labor was much harder than I expected. Even with my strong body, my soul came from the 21st century that I wasn't used to this level of exhaustion. Su11 walked over carrying a water bottle. Tired? Have some water. I accepted it with a smile. I'm fine. You're tired too, right? Sit down and rest. She sat beside me on another tree stump. She shook her head. Auntie and my sister-in-law have been taking good care of me. They only let me do lighter work. I'm not tired. But although she said that, I noticed the sweat on her clothes and the small pieces of wood stuck in her hair. Clearly, she had also been working hard. That I was about to say something. Suddenly, a desperate cry came from nearby. Rupying. Rupying, what happened to you? Don't scare me. I exchanged a glance with Su Wanwan. Then we immediately stood up and ran over. That a woman was holding an unconscious man in her arms. She was crying helplessly, but the surrounding villagers only watched. No one stepped forward. That I was about to approach. But Chun Jingue suddenly grabbed my arm. Uncle Jingue, why are you stopping me? Don't get involved. You'll only bring trouble on yourself. He lowered his voice urgently. That I looked toward the couple. Their clothes were simple, but their appearance and manner were different from ordinary villagers. They looked educated. People like this, researchers, scholars, intellectuals. How bad could they possibly be? More importantly, people like them would become valuable talents for the country in the future. Losing even one of them would be a tragedy. I pulled my arm free. Ignoring the surprised looks around me, I walked over. Please, please save my husband. The woman, Lin Jing, grabbed onto me like I was her last hope. Don't worry. Let me take a look. I quickly examined the man. After checking his condition, I finally relaxed. It seemed like severe hypoglycemia. Does anyone have anything sweet? Candy, fruit, anything sweet will work. I looked toward the crowd. Everyone shook their heads. In this era, sweets were precious. Who would carry candy around? Just when I was starting to feel helpless, Dodo squeezed through the crowd. He reached into his pocket. After searching for a while, he pulled out half of a white rabbit candy. The edges had already been smoothed from being licked. He stared at it reluctantly. Then he handed it to me. Future brother-in-law, I only have this, but I already licked it. There's only half left. My heart warmed. This little kid's kindness touched me deeply that I accepted the candy and gently rubbed his head. Dodo is such a good kid. When we get home, brother-in-law will buy you a whole bag of white rabbit candies. Dodo's eyes instantly lit up. Really? You'll really buy me a whole bag? Of course. I always keep my promises. I looked at the half piece of candy in my hand. But right now, brother-in-law needs to borrow this candy first. I need to use it to save this uncle. My chest tightened when I saw Su Wanwan looking after me with such gentle concern. For a moment, I felt an emotion I couldn't describe that I in my previous life and this one, aside from my mother. She was the first woman who had ever willingly prepared warm water for me and handed me a hot towel. That small gesture carried a weight far beyond what it seemed that I looked at her and smiled. Wanwan, thank you. She blinked slightly, as if surprised by my serious tone. Before she could answer, I walked over to Lin Jing. Her face was pale, and her hands were trembling slightly from fear that I softened my voice and comforted her. Don't be too nervous. It shouldn't be a serious problem. Judging from his condition, he probably fainted because of low blood sugar. Did he skip breakfast this morning? In this era, medical knowledge was still far from widespread. Even if a village had a doctor, most of them were only barefoot doctors who relied on basic training and a handbook to diagnose illnesses and prescribe medicine. For ordinary farmers who spent their lives working under the sun, the term low blood sugar was something they had never even heard of. But Lin Jing was different. The moment she heard those words, her tightly wound shoulders relaxed slightly. Yes, that's right. This morning, he gave me the only 2 steamed corn buns we had. He didn't eat a single bite himself. She looked down at her unconscious husband, tears filling her eyes. Her voice trembled as she spoke. That explains it. He worked all morning on an empty stomach. Even someone made of iron wouldn't be able to endure that. I sighed softly. Then I reached forward and pressed firmly on the man's philtrum. A few seconds later, his eyelids twitched. Slowly, his eyes opened. He's awake. Pingru, you're awake. Lin Jing immediately hugged her husband tightly. Tears streamed down her face. What happened to me? Qian Pingru asked weakly. His voice was hoarse. The last thing he remembered was the world suddenly spinning. Then everything went black. Don't talk yet. Put this candy in your mouth. You need some sugar. I placed half a piece of white rabbit candy between his lips. Help him sit against the tree. Give him some water and let him rest. He'll recover soon. Lin Jing quickly followed my instructions. She carefully helped her husband sit against the tree trunk. Sure enough, after a while, some color slowly returned to Qian Pingru's pale face. The villagers watching nearby were all stunned. Nobody expected that Chunjanya's second son would actually know how to handle something like this. Chunjanya's boy is impressive. I thought that man was about to die when I saw his face earlier. But Qinyang actually brought him back. That's right. He looks decent, works hard, knows hunting, and now he even understands medicine. This kid has really been hiding his abilities. Wait, isn't he still unmarried? My family has several girls around his age. Maybe I should introduce one. Forget it. Didn't you see that beautiful girl beside him? That's Qinyang's future wife. Where is she from? Why have we never seen her before? I heard she came from somewhere else. The discussions around them continued. Standing among the crowd, Su Wanwan couldn't help but smile. Her eyes were filled with pride. Look, this was her fiancé, the man she had chosen that moment. Qian Pingru also learned what had happened from his wife. He looked at me with gratitude. Young man, thank you so much. My name is Qian Pingru. This is my wife, Lin Jing. Someday, we will definitely repay your kindness. His eyes were slightly red, and his voice trembled with emotion that I waved my hand. You're being too polite. It was just a small favor. There's no need to talk about repayment. At that moment, Brigade Leader Chen Changjun arrived with several villagers after hearing the news. Seeing that Qian Pingru was already awake, he finally let out a sigh of relief. Although the couple had been sent here from elsewhere, if someone had actually died, he, as the brigade leader, would have been responsible. How is he? Is he all right? Chen Changjun turned and asked me. Uncle Changjun, there's no major problem. It was just low blood sugar. He'll be fine after resting. I answered with a smile. That's good. That's good. Chen Changjun nodded in relief. Qian Pingru, rest for a while longer. Today's work points will still be counted. Thank you, brigade leader. Thank you. The couple repeatedly expressed their gratitude. Soon, it was time for lunch. All right, everyone stop working for now. Lunch is ready. We'll continue after eating. The moment they heard food was ready, everyone cheered. During collective labor, meals were provided by the production team. And more importantly, they were enough to fill your stomach. In an era when food was scarce, being able to eat a full meal was something truly precious. I followed Su Wanwan and Do Do with the villagers toward the gathering area. After receiving our meals, I carried 2 enamel bowls back toward where my family was resting. Because today's logging work was spread out, our family members had not been working together. The moment I placed the bowls down, my mother grabbed my ear. Ouch! Mom, be gentle. You little brat. Have you lost your mind? You dare to get involved with anyone? My mother's face was full of anger. Her grip tightened. Not just her. Even my usually quiet father and my older brother and sister-in-law looked serious. They had all heard what happened, and they knew the background of those 2 people. If someone with bad intentions exaggerated the situation and reported it, our entire family could suffer. Mom, I was just helping someone in need. I was following the spirit of helping others. Who could blame me for that? My mother opened her mouth, but for a moment, she couldn't find a response. You always have excuses. Anyway, stay away from them in the future. She gave my ear one final twist before finally letting go. All right, I understand. My ear is really going to fall off. I quickly begged for mercy. The commotion here naturally attracted attention. Among those watching were the educated youths living near the southern forestry area. These young people had come from different parts of the country and were assigned here for rural work. Normally, I didn't interact much with them, but there was one person among them I knew. Qin Hanming. That I had heard he came from the capital, that he looked neat and polished on the outside, but he was thin as a bamboo stick. He always wore his hair in a greasy middle part and carried around books like the Book of Songs, constantly pretending to be some poetic scholar. What was most annoying was that many village girls actually liked that style, including Chun Jinju. That was why my former self and Chun Ji Gang had always disliked him. At that moment, Qin Hanming was standing with several male educated youths, whispering among themselves. Look over there. That girl in the blue work clothes? She's incredible. Her looks and figure are even better than the girls from the city performance troupe. How come we've never seen her before? She doesn't look like a new educated youth. If she were, she would be living at the youth settlement. Doesn't matter. I'm going after her. Look at that figure. She's exactly my type. One of the youths glanced at Qin Hanming. Forget it. Qin hasn't even spoken yet. You think you can compete with him? The others laughed. But Qin Hanming wasn't listening. His eyes were fixed on Su Wanwan's back. A greedy and shameless look burned in his eyes. That gaze made Su Wanwan uncomfortable. She seemed to sense it and turned around. Their eyes met. The moment she saw Qin Hanming's expression, her eyebrows immediately frowned. There was something about his gaze that made her feel disgusted. Qin Hanming, however, completely misunderstood her reaction. That he thought she had been captivated by his appearance and elegant manner. He even gave her a smug smile, believing he looked charming. But to Su Wanwan, that smile only made her feel a chill. Her skin crawled. She quickly turned away and unconsciously moved closer to me. Only standing beside me gave her a true sense of safety. Seeing her turn away, Qin Hanming became even more confident. In his mind, she was simply shy. He smiled proudly. He had no idea that, in Su Wanwan's eyes, he had already become someone she wanted to stay far away from. I could immediately tell something was wrong when Su Wanwan moved closer to me. Her expression was uneasy, and her eyes kept glancing toward the group of young men nearby. I put down my bowl and asked softly, Wanwan, what happened? Qinyang, those people over there. She lowered her voice. They've been staring at me for a while. Their eyes are really scary. As she spoke, she unconsciously moved closer to my side. I followed her gaze. Sure enough, I saw several male, educated youths looking over without any intention of hiding it. Especially Qin Hanming. That bastard's gaze was the most disgusting. His eyes wandered over Su Wanwan's figure, filled with an ugly kind of desire. Last night, I had killed people with my own hands. Although I had tried to bury that experience deep inside, the sharpness and coldness left behind were still there. That moment, My eyes became much colder that I looked at those educated youths. My gaze was like a blade. The few men who had been watching immediately felt their backs turn cold. That it was as if they were no longer looking at an ordinary young man, but a dangerous beast staring straight at them. Their faces changed point one by one. They quickly lowered their heads. Fine beads of sweat appeared on their foreheads. Seeing their cowardly reaction, I gave a cold laugh. With that little courage, they still dared to have ideas about my woman? Don't worry about them. I turned back to Su Wenwan. My wife is beside me. You don't need to be afraid. If they dare bother you, I'll make sure they understand what regret means. Su Wenwan looked at me. The worry in her eyes slowly disappeared. A warm smile returned to her face. Okay. Her voice was soft, but the trust in it was unmistakable. After lunch, Su Wenwan took the initiative to clean up the bowls. She carried the neatly stacked dishes back toward the collection area. Qin Hanming, who had been secretly watching her the entire time, immediately smiled. He picked up his own bowl and followed. After returning the dishes, Su Wenwan turned around to leave. But she almost walked straight into someone standing behind her. She frowned. When she saw Qin Hanming blocking her way, her expression immediately turned cold. She moved to the side, trying to walk around him. But Qin Hanming also moved, blocking her again. She changed directions several times. Every single time, he deliberately stepped in front of her. Move. Su Wenwan stopped. Her eyes were cold as she looked at him. Qin Hanming smiled. Comrade, that's not very polite. The road is so wide. Why should I move? Su Wenwan's disgust was obvious. Even a good dog knows not to block the road. Don't think I don't know you're doing this on purpose. Qin Hanming pretended to look hurt. Comrade, you really hurt me saying that. Then he leaned slightly closer. Lowering his voice, he said, How about this? Tell me your name, and I'll let you pass. How does that sound? The moment his words fell, a bright smile suddenly appeared on Su Wenwan's face. That it was gentle and beautiful, like sunlight in spring. Qin Hanming froze. His heart immediately jumped. She smiled at me. She must have been attracted by my charm. But before he could enjoy that feeling for long, a cold voice came from behind him. I don't think that sounds good at all. Before Qin Hanming could react, pain suddenly exploded from his backside. That a powerful force sent him flying forward. Bang! He landed heavily on the ground. That a clear footprint was left on his clothes. Damn it! Who the hell? Qin Hanming struggled to get up, furious. Then he turned around and met my cold eyes. Qin Yang, you kicked me. Shock and anger mixed together in his voice. Slap! A loud sound echoed. That my hand landed across his face. Watch your mouth. My voice was cold. If you dare speak like that again, I'll make sure you regret having a tongue. Qin Hanming covered his rapidly swelling cheek. A trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. He was both frightened and angry. Then suddenly, he started shouting, Help! Someone hit me. Qin Yang hit me. The commotion immediately attracted everyone nearby. Villagers gathered around. Even brigade leader Chen Changjun came over. He looked at Qin Hanming sitting on the ground and me standing nearby. His expression became serious. What happened? Qin Hanming immediately pointed at me. Brigade leader. Chen Yang attacked me for no reason. Chen Yang, is that true? Chen Changjun looked at me. His voice was stern. Yes. I admitted it directly. I hit him. But he was harassing my fiancée. Compared with what he did, one slap was already being lenient. Chen Changjuan's expression darkened. He turned toward Qin Hanming. Is what he said true? You harassed someone's fiancée? Qin Hanming's face changed. He immediately denied it. He's lying. I never harassed anyone. I was only returning my bowls. This woman deliberately blocked my path. Then he shamelessly added, I think she saw that I was handsome and deliberately tried to get close to me. The moment those words came out, everyone went silent. Su Wenwan's face turned red from anger. You're shameless. Her eyes became watery from frustration. She looked at me. Qin Yang, I didn't do anything. I naturally believed her. What shocked me was that someone could actually be this shameless. Qin Hanming had truly broadened my understanding. That moment, my mother rushed over. The moment she heard his words, she exploded. Are you serious? She pointed at Qin Hanming. Look at yourself first. My Wenwan would like you. With that skinny body and that disgusting attitude, you're really shameless. The surrounding villagers all looked at Qin Hanming with disgust. They had seen shameless people before, but someone this shameless was rare. So according to you, Qin Changjun frowned. Qin Yang's fiancé was the one bothering you? Yes. Qin Hanming forced himself to answer. The moment he said that, the crowd erupted. What a joke. This guy is unbelievable. He looks like he can't even carry a sack of grain. And he thinks someone like that girl would chase after him? Are all educated youths from the city this arrogant? I really want to slap him myself. Several villagers who had seen what happened stepped forward. Brigade leader, I didn't hear everything, but I clearly saw this Qin-educated youth blocking the girl's way. That's right, I saw it too. He was obviously stopping her from leaving. Qin Hanming's expression became nervous. Don't talk nonsense. What proof do you have? I think all of you villagers with the surname Chun are joining together to bully an outsider like me. That sentence immediately made the villagers even more unhappy. Yes, most people in Red Flag Brigade shared the surname Chun. Many were relatives if you traced back several generations. Normally, even without a reason, they would still help each other. And now, there was clearly a reason. Qin Hanming had just offended almost everyone. Enough. Qin Changjun waved his hand impatiently. You both have your own story. I don't care who is right or wrong anymore. This matter ends here. Anyone who continues causing trouble will lose 1 month of work points. After saying that, he looked at Qin Hanming warningly. Then he turned and left. I glanced at Qin Hanming coldly. My eyes carried a clear warning. Then I took Su Wanwan's hand and walked away, watching our backs disappear. Qin Hanming's eyes filled with hatred. Today, he had lost all his dignity because of us. Qin Yang. And that woman. One day I'll make you kneel and beg me. He cursed silently. Then he angrily threw his bowls onto the table. Hey! A woman responsible for collecting dishes immediately shouted. You! Wash your own bowls. Qin Hanming froze. What? You want me to wash them? He pointed at the dishes. Why don't they have to wash theirs? The woman sneered. You think you're the same as them? Qin Hanming smiled proudly. Finally, someone with good judgment. I really am different from these ordinary villagers. The woman immediately rolled her eyes. I wasn't saying that. I meant they aren't as shameless as you. Everyone washes their own bowls. If you refuse, I'll report you for damaging public property and deduct your work points. After saying that, she gave him a disgusted look and walked away. Ew. Qin Hanming's face turned red and pale by turns, but he had no way to fight back. In the end, he could only pick up his bowls and glare angrily. After what happened with Qin Hanming, I really didn't feel comfortable letting Su Wanwan stay alone. I simply asked her to stay by my side and help out. She didn't need to do any heavy work. All she had to do was hand me water when I was thirsty or help organize the scattered branches when I was trimming wood. People often said that men and women working together made the job feel easier. Only now did I truly understand how accurate that old saying was. With Su Wanwan beside me, the afternoon seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. Before I realized it, the sun had already begun to set. The work whistle echoed through the mountains again. Everyone packed up their tools and walked toward the gathering area, exhausted but satisfied. After a full day of effort from several production teams, the logging quota assigned from above had basically been completed. The remaining small amount of work would be handled by the forestry workers. That meant the villagers wouldn't need to go into the mountains to cut trees tomorrow. Hearing the news, many villagers looked slightly disappointed. After all, opportunities like this, where they could eat government-provided meals and work without worrying about food, were extremely rare. But to me, it was actually good news. Tomorrow I wouldn't need to work on the mountain. That meant I could finally go to the county supply store. Originally, I had planned to go to the county with Chunji Gang that morning to sell the deer. But the sudden logging assignment had delayed everything. Luckily, the deer was still alive. If it had already been killed, the hot summer weather would have ruined the meat by now. After quickly eating dinner at the brigade cafeteria, my family returned home tired. After washing up, my father, Chun Jianya, gathered everyone in the main room. Everyone already knows about last night. He placed the money wrapped in cloth on the table. We sold that wild ginseng for 4,000 yuan. Everyone looked at the neatly stacked bills. Their faces were filled with happiness. The ginseng was discovered by Chun Yang and Wanwan together. According to reason, half of this money belongs to Wanwan. He paused before continuing. The remaining 2,000 will be kept by your mother and me. We've saved some money over the years. Together with this, it should be enough to build a new brick house for each of my sons. As he spoke, he pushed 2 stacks of money towards Su Wenwan. Everyone was slightly surprised by this decision, but nobody objected, because everyone felt this was the fairest arrangement. I can't take this money. Su Wenwan immediately pushed it back. Her expression was serious. Uncle Chun, you and Annie were willing to take my brother and me in. I'm already grateful beyond words. I absolutely cannot accept this money. Her reaction surprised everyone. 2,000 yuan was an enormous amount of money in this era, but she didn't hesitate even for a moment. The way everyone looked at her became even warmer, especially my mother. The affection in her eyes was almost overflowing. She walked over and sat beside Su Wenwan, gently holding her hand. Wenwan, Annie knows you're a sensible child. But this ginseng was discovered by you and Chen Yang together. No matter what, you deserve your share. You should keep it. Whether you save it as your dowry or use it for Do's education later, it will always be useful. As women, having some money of our own makes us feel secure. That's right, Wenwan. My mother is right. Just accept it. My sister-in-law Li Mingyue also gently encouraged her to why older brother Chen Luo nodded. Exactly. This belongs to you. Don't refuse. I watched this warm scene. A smile slowly appeared on my face. The family without schemes or conflicts. Everyone caring for each other. How wonderful. Seeing everyone continue pushing the money back and forth, I simply picked up the 2 stacks and placed them directly into Su Wenwan's hands. All right, stop arguing. Just take it. Su Wenwan looked at the money in her arms. Her eyes turned slightly red. Then, I'll accept it. Thank you, everyone. We're all family. My father smiled warmly. There's no need to be so formal. All right, it's late. Everyone should rest. The next morning, before the sky had fully brightened, I quietly got out of bed and I washed my face with cold water to wake myself up completely. Then I walked through the morning dew toward Chen Jigang's house. When I arrived, Chen Jigang and his father were already prepared. Without wasting time, everyone immediately started processing the deer. With quick movements, they removed the deer blood, valuable organs, and other useful parts. The remaining meat was cut into pieces and neatly placed onto the ox cart that Chun Jigang had borrowed from the brigade the night before. After everything was prepared, they covered the meat with a thick cloth. Then the ox cart slowly started toward the county town. When we passed my house, I suddenly remembered something that I quickly told Chun Jigang to stop. Then I ran back home and woke up my father, Chun Jianya. The 3 of us headed toward the county together. By the time we arrived, the sky had just begun to brighten. Actually, if we took the deer meat near factories or hospitals and sold it piece by piece, we could have earned much more. But doing that would mean selling without official approval. With so many people in the county, if someone accused us of illegal trading, it would become a huge problem. After thinking carefully, selling to an official purchasing station was the safest choice. The price might be lower, but peace of mind mattered more. Besides, the greater Shingon Mountains were rich in resources as long as we had the ability. Why worry about not finding more prey in the future? Just as Chun Jigang and I were preparing to head to the supply store according to our original plan, my father spoke that he knew that the purchasing station usually offered slightly better prices than the supply store, and he also knew someone there. Taking the deer there was obviously the better choice. The purchasing station had just opened. Lu Guoqiang was sweeping the entrance when he looked up and saw the 3 of us. Janya? What brings you here so early? He put down the broom and walked over. Then his eyes landed on the ox cart behind us. Looks like you brought something good again. Strong son, this time it was my boy. My father patted my shoulder. He got lucky and hunted a sika deer. We just finished preparing it and brought it over. Lu Guoqiang looked me up and down. His eyes showed approval. Good kid. You look capable. Like father, like son. Uncle Lu, you're flattering me. I quickly stepped forward. From my pocket, I took out a pack of friendship cigarettes I had bought on the way and I handed him one. I'm still far behind my father. There's a lot I need to learn. Lu Guoqiang accepted the cigarette. He placed it behind his ear. His smile became even warmer. Knowing humility is a good thing. Don't stand outside. Bring everything in and let's weigh it. Together, we moved the deer meat antlers, and hide into the purchasing station. Luke Wuqiang brought out an old-fashioned scale. He carefully weighed everything one item at a time. While weighing, he recorded the numbers. The deer meat totaled 287.6 J, IN T1 yuan 8 Mao per gene. It came to 517 yuan and 6 Mao 8 fun. The deer antler weighed 1.5 gene. Calculated at the high price of 9 yuan 8 Mao per 10 grams, it totaled 735 yuan. The complete Sika deer hide was valued at 36 yuan after taking out his abacus and making a series of rapid calculations. Lu Guoqiang announced, "Everything together comes to 1,288 yuan, 6 Mao, and 8 fun. Check it yourselves and make sure there are no mistakes." I took the written receipt and quickly glanced over it. Then I folded it away. "Uncle Lu, look at you. We trust your character. If you calculated it, then it must be correct." "Ha ha ha, good." Lu Guoqiang laughed. The wrinkles on his face almost disappeared from smiling. "Wait here a moment. I'll go get the money." He patted my shoulder and went inside. My father stood quietly beside us the entire time. He didn't say much. But watching me handle everything calmly and carefully, a satisfied look appeared in his eyes. "Good. Then wait here for a moment. I'll go inside and get the money." After hearing that, Lu Guoqiang's smile became even wider. He patted Chen Yang's shoulder firmly before turning around and quickly walking into the back room. Chen Jinya stood nearby without saying much. But watching his son handle everything so calmly and carefully, a look of pride and satisfaction appeared in his eyes. Not long after, Lu Guoqiang came back out carrying a thick stack of bills that I in front of the three of them. He carefully counted out 1,288 yuan, 6 Mao, and 8 fun before handing the money to Chen Yang. Chen Yang accepted it, then immediately handed it to his father. "Dad, we already agreed with Gongzi. He gets 3 shares of this. Please count out 387 yuan for him." Chen Jianya nodded that he carefully counted the money again, confirmed the amount, then separated 387 yuan and handed it to Chen Jigang. "Thank you, Uncle Chen." "Thank you, Yang." Chen Jigang excitedly accepted the money. His voice was trembling slightly. This was the first time in his life he had earned so much money. Usually, when he went into the mountains alone, the best he could hope for was a few pheasants or rabbits. Selling them at the supply store might only bring in 10 or 20 yuan. Without Xinyang bringing him along this time, there was no way he could have gained such a huge harvest. "We're brothers. Why are you thanking me?" Xinyang smiled and punched him lightly on the shoulder. "Thank you, Uncle Lu. We'll head back first. If we find any more good stuff in the future, I'll bring it to you first." Xinyang turned to Lu Guoqiang and handed him another cigarette. His tone was sincere. "Ha, good. Bring anything you find in the future. As long as it follows the rules, I'll definitely give you the best price possible." Lu Guoqiang happily accepted the cigarette and nodded. "All right, we'll be leaving first, Xiangzi. Next time I have a chance, I'll come find you for a drink." Chen Jianya smiled and said goodbye. "No problem. I'll be waiting." Lu Guoqiang smiled and personally walked them to the entrance. After leaving the purchasing station, the three of them headed to the supply store. The moment he entered, Qinyang immediately began a major shopping spree. Rice, flour, cooking oil, soy sauce, vinegar, candy, malted milk powder, soap, laundry soap, facial cream. Nothing was left behind that he even specifically bought 3 cartons of Daqianmin cigarettes and 3 bottles of Fingio liquor. Fortunately, the group of criminals from the previous night had contributed some extra ration coupons. Otherwise, relying only on the coupons his family had saved, there was no way he could have bought so many things. After this round of shopping, he spent a total of 92 yuan, and 6 MAO.IT was enough to make his father's wallet suffer a little. Chen Jigang also bought some daily necessities for his own family. After loading everything onto the ox cart, Qinyang opened 1 carton of Daqianmin cigarettes. He took out 2 packs and put the rest away. Then he kept 2 bottles of liquor and 2 cartons of cigarettes aside. After covering the items on the cart carefully with cloth, he turned to Chen Jigang. "Gongzi, take these things back first. My father and I still need to handle something else, so we won't go back together. This pack of cigarettes and the bottle of Fingio on the cart are for your father. Everything else, I'll trouble you to deliver to my house. And this pack of cigarettes, Qinyang handed him the two newly opened packs. When you return the ox cart to the brigade, give them to the brigade leader. All right, Yang. Chen Jigang carefully placed the cigarettes into his pocket. I'll head back first. Take care on the road. Watching Chun Jigang drive the ox cart away with its creaking wheels, Chun Yang and Chun Jianya immediately turned around and headed toward the County Forestry Bureau. As soon as they entered the Forestry Bureau, a staff member came over. Comrades, what business do you need to handle? Hello, comrade. We'd like to see Deputy Director Zheng Hongyu. Is he available? Chun Jianya politely asked. Yes, Deputy Director Zheng is in his office. Please wait a moment. I'll inform him. Not long after, the female staff member returned with a middle-aged man. The man was around 1.75 meters tall. He wore a neat black Zhongshan suit. His steps were steady and carried a sharp, disciplined air that reminded people of a soldier. The moment he saw Chun Jianya, his face immediately lit up. Old squad leader. What brings you here today? Come, let's talk in my office. Zheng Hongyu walked forward enthusiastically and grabbed Chun Jianya's hand. Hongyu, I came without notifying you. I hope I didn't interrupt your work. Chun Jianya smiled. How could that happen? I'd be happy you came. Zheng Hongyu waved his hand and he warmly pulled Chun Jianya along while nodding at Chun Yang. Leading both of them into his office, as soon as Chun Yang entered, he gently placed the bag he was carrying on Zheng Hongyu's desk. Inside were the 2 cartons of Dechinmin cigarettes and 2 bottles of Fingio. Hongyu, let me introduce you. This is my youngest son, Qinyang. I didn't bring anything valuable. Don't dislike these small gifts. After saying that, Chun Jianya gave Qinyang a look. Hello, Uncle Zheng. Qinyang immediately greeted him respectfully. Good kid. Zheng Hongyu smiled. He looked Qinyang up and down. Approval appeared in his eyes. Not bad. You look capable. You even have some of your old squad leader's spirit from back then. Then he looked at the things on the table and quickly waved his hands. Ah, old squad leader, why did you bring gifts? I can't accept this. You're making me violate regulations. Before his father could speak, Qinyang smiled and answered. Uncle Zheng, you're taking it too seriously. This is just a small gesture from a younger generation meeting an elder for the first time. It's a normal courtesy between people. How could that be considered breaking the rules? Zheng Hongyu froze slightly. He looked at Chun Yang's young face that he truly hadn't expected this young man to be so thoughtful and experienced. Sometimes, comparing people really was frustrating. Looking at Qinyang, then thinking about his own useless son, Zheng Hongyu suddenly felt like going home and dragging that brat out for a beating. All right. Since you've already put it that way, I'll accept it. Zheng Hongyu hesitated briefly before smiling and nodding that he led them to the tea table and skillfully brewed some hot tea. Chun Jianya and Zheng Hongyu chatted warmly about old times. Qinyang quietly sat beside them, pouring tea whenever needed. The conversation lasted for more than an hour. Seeing that the timing was right, Chun Jianya finally brought up the purpose of their visit. Hongyu, to be honest, I came here today because I need your help with something. Zheng Hongyu had already guessed that he immediately replied. Old squad leader, just tell me. As long as it's within my ability, I'll handle it. It's about Qinyang. He doesn't like working in the fields. He prefers going into the mountains. So I wanted to ask if you could help him get a hunting permit. Chun Jianya explained. Haha, I thought it was something serious. A hunting permit. That's a small matter. I'll have someone handle it right away. Zheng Hongyu stood up immediately. He walked out of the office. About 10 minutes later, he returned with a newly issued certificate. Yang here. Your hunting permit is ready. He handed the document to Chun Yang and patted his shoulder encouragingly. This is a production hunting permit. With it, you can legally hunt most animals in the mountains. But remember, you cannot overhunt. You must follow the regulations. Don't worry, Uncle Zheng. I promise I'll follow the rules and never act recklessly. Chun Yang accepted the permit with both hands and seriously promised. Everything went far more smoothly than expected. Chun Jianya checked the time and stood up. It's getting late. I still need to take this boy to the Public Security Bureau to apply for a firearm permit. Hongyu, if you have time, come visit us at Hongqi Brigade. I'll prepare some good dishes and we'll have a proper drink. Definitely. Zheng Hongyu happily agreed. He personally walked them outside. After saying goodbye, Qinyang and his father immediately headed to the Public Security Bureau. With the hunting permit already approved, getting the firearm permit became much easier. Not long after, the staff registered Chen Yang's father's Type 56 semi-automatic rifle information on his firearm permit. Once all the documents were completed, Chen Yang finally felt relieved. With these two permits, from now on, he could go hunting in the mountains legally at the same time. Chen Jigang returned to the village with the ox cart. The cart piled high with supplies immediately attracted the attention of some villagers. Although everything was covered with cloth, hiding the exact contents, the unusual amount of goods still sparked curiosity. Among the crowd, a pair of eyes narrowed slightly after seeing the cart. That person quietly followed behind. He watched as Chun Jigang stopped in front of Chun Yang's house. Then he watched the Chun family carry bags and bags of supplies inside. Through gaps in the cloth, he clearly saw candy, malted milk powder, and other expensive items that were normally extremely rare. In that instant, greed and jealousy began growing wildly inside his eyes like weeds. When Chen Jigang finally drove the ox cart away from Chen Yang's house, the person hiding nearby stared deeply at the tightly closed gate of the Chun family courtyard one last time. Only then did he quietly turn around and slip away. He returned to the work group as if nothing had happened. Someone nearby glanced at him suspiciously, but in the end, nobody asked any questions by the time Chen Yang and his father hurried back home. The house was already empty. Everyone had gone to the fields. The moment Chen Jinya saw his son preparing to sneak off and rest, he immediately grabbed him by the arm, picked up the hoe leaning against the wall, and dragged him straight toward the farmland. Summer farm work was the one thing Chen Yang dreaded most. It was either turning soil or carrying manure, and carrying manure was the absolute worst. Back in this era, there were no modern fertilizers in the countryside. Farmers relied entirely on fermented human and animal waste. Doing that job under the summer sun was a nightmare. After spending a whole day carrying it around, the smell would practically soak into your skin. Even after taking 2 showers, you could still smell it. Luckily, today's assigned task was hoeing between the crops, loosening the soil and removing weeds. It was tiring, but still far better than carrying manure. Chen Yang gripped the hoe and put on a serious expression. He worked hard, putting all his strength into every swing. Unfortunately, his efficiency was terrible. Even Su Wenwan was faster than him. After an entire morning, the 1 mu of land assigned to Su Wenwan was already completely cleaned up. Chen Yang, on the other hand, had only finished about 2/3, and his section looked like it had been dug up by a pack of wild dogs. Of course, he couldn't really be blamed. In his previous life, he had barely ever worked in the fields. His knowledge of farming tools only reached the level of knowing how to use them. Using them well was a completely different matter. Looking at Chun Yang's disastrous work, Su Wenwan couldn't hold back. Puffed. She burst out laughing. Her bright eyes were filled with obvious amusement. For once, Chen Yang actually felt embarrassed. He turned his face away, unable to meet her playful gaze. In the end, with Su Wenwan's help, they finally managed to clean up his entire section. After returning home from work, Chen Yang had barely sat down before his mother, Zhang Cuiping, started another round of lectures. Even Chen Jianya wasn't spared this time. He got dragged into the criticism as well. The topic was simple. The two of them had spent too much money buying all those luxury items that couldn't fill your stomach. Chen Yang listened obediently to his mother's complaints, but mentally he followed his own philosophy. In one ear, out the other, he knew his parents too well. People like them were always the same. If they had money themselves, they would never spend it. They would save every coin for their children. But when their children bought things for them, they would complain on the surface, yet secretly feel happy. And in the end, they would use everything carefully and waste nothing, because those things represented their children's loved the things his parents were unwilling to buy. He would buy them. The things they were unwilling to spend money on, he would spend for them. After Zhang Cuiping finished lecturing both father and son, she finally calmed down. She took Li Mingyue and Su Wenwan into the kitchen to prepare lunch. Taking advantage of the moment, Chen Yang greeted everyone and casually walked over to Chen Jigang's house. The moment Chen Dabiao saw him, he immediately welcomed him inside. "Yang, you're here. Perfect timing. Stay and eat lunch at my place." "Uncle, no need to trouble yourself. Food is almost ready at home." Chen Yang quickly waved his hands. Hearing the conversation, Chen Jijun came out with a bowl of cool boiled water. Ah Yang, sit down. Have some water. Thanks, brother Jijun. Chen Yang took the bowl and drank it in one go. Why are you thanking me? Chen Jijun laughed. If anyone should be thanking someone, it's me. If you hadn't taken Gongzi with you, how could he have earned so much money? That's right. Chen Dabiao immediately joined in with his loud voice. Ah Yang, if you don't mind, bring Gongzi with you whenever you go hunting in the future. If there's any dirty or tiring work, just make him do it. If he dares to be lazy, I'll break his legs myself. Chen Yang understood immediately. Chen Jigang had made money because of him. Chen Dabiao hoped this partnership could continue for a long time. Uncle, don't worry. Chen Yang smiled. Forget about our friendship. Just because our families have known each other for so many years, if there's a good opportunity, I'll definitely think of Gongzi. Hearing this, Chen Dabiao's face instantly lit up with happiness. Ah Yang, you came here to pick up the things we left this morning, right? I already prepared the deer blood wine. The deer meat and deer parts are also cleaned and ready. Gongzi, bring out Ah Yang's basket. Chen Dabiao shouted toward the house. Suddenly, Chen Yang remembered something. His eyes brightened. Uncle, I heard you have quite a bit of tiger bone wine and tiger organ wine stored here. Could you spare me some? Chen Dabiao immediately gave him a strange look. He glanced Chen Yang up and down. Then his eyes subtly moved lower. Kid, you're still young. What do you need those powerful supplements for? Don't tell me. Uncle, Chen Yang quickly interrupted. Don't misunderstand. I'm completely fine. Then, without hesitation, he sold out his father and older brother. I'm getting it for my dad and my brother. I saw my brother rubbing his lower back after working today, so I thought I'd get something good for him. Oh, so that's what it is. Chen Dabiao nodded knowingly. All right, I'll get you some. He walked into the back room. After moving several jars aside, he lifted a wooden board, revealing a hidden cellar entrance. He climbed down. A short while later, he came back up carrying 2 small jars, judging by their size. Each one contained at least 10 jin. He carefully placed the 2 jars of tiger wine into the basket with the deer blood wine and deer parts. Then he reminded Chen Yang. Ah Yang, the deer blood wine needs 3 days before you drink it. As for tiger bone wine, it's extremely strong. Only drink 1 or 2 liang at a time. Don't get greedy. Got it, uncle. Chen Yang accepted the basket from Chen Jigang. All right, I'll head back first. Yangzi, are we going into the mountains tomorrow? Chen Jigang asked expectantly. Depends. If we go, I'll come tell you tonight. All right. Chen Yang carried the basket of treasures back home. The moment he stepped into the courtyard, his father Chen Jianya immediately noticed something that he walked over. What good stuff are you carrying? Nothing special. Chen Yang pretended to be casual. Just 2 jars of tiger wine from Uncle Dabiao. And some prepared deer blood wine and deer parts. The moment he finished speaking, Chen Jianya's eyes instantly widened. Excitement appeared all over his face. Good stuff. Every single item was something men dreamed of having. After all, a man at 18 was full of energy. At 20, he was unstoppable. At 30, he was still strong. At 40, things started slowing down. And after 50, well, people started relying on imagination. Chen Jianya was already in his early 40s. Naturally, some things were no longer as effortless as before. Seeing these wines was no different from a poor man discovering buried treasure. Without hesitation, he reached out to take the basket, but Chen Yang deliberately stepped aside. Dad, what are you doing? This was given to me by Uncle Dabiao. Chen Jianya immediately glared. You little brat. Your Uncle Dabiao gave it to you, and you don't know how to honor your own father? You're young and strong. Drinking this would just be wasting it. Hand it over. Don't make me beat you. He raised his hand as if he was about to hit him. All right, all right. It was prepared for you anyway. Look at you. I was just teasing you. Why are you getting so serious? Seeing his father really getting angry, Chen Yang stopped playing around and handed over the basket. Besides, whether the wine stayed with his father or with him made no difference. If Chen Yang wanted to drink some later, would his father really refuse? Impossible. After taking the precious items from his son, Chen Jianya suddenly felt a surge of confidence and pride rising from deep within. For some reason, he felt like his slightly bent back was becoming straighter again, stronger, more powerful. After lunch, The whole family rested for a while. When the afternoon work whistle sounded again, everyone picked up their farming tools and headed back out. Qinyang was unwilling in every possible way, but he still had to go. After all, working a full day was the only way to earn 10 work points in an era where grain was exchanged based on work points. No matter how much he hated it, he had no choice but to endure. When the workday ended in the evening, the sunset painted the sky a warm orange-red. Chunyang's family dragged their exhausted bodies back to their small courtyard under the fading sunlight. After a full day of farm labor, Chunyang felt like his entire body had fallen apart. Thinking about how a whole day of hard work only earned 10 work points, an amount that was not even a fraction of what he could earn from hunting, only strengthened his determination. He had to rely on hunting to improve his family's life. That night, after returning home, Qinyang noticed something strange. His mother, Zhang Cuiping, had secretly pulled Su Wanwan aside. The two women were whispering about something. Although Qinyang couldn't hear the details, he could clearly see Su Wanwan's face getting redder and redder, like a ripe apple. Afterward, Zhang Cuiping told Li Mingyue to prepare dinner while she hurried out of the house. Once his mother left, Qinyang walked over curiously. Wanwan, what did Mom just tell you? The moment she heard his question, Su Wanwan's face turned bright red again. And nothing. I'm going to help sister-in-law cook. Before Qinyang could ask anything else, she quickly escaped into the kitchen like a startled rabbit. Those two are acting so mysterious. Qinyang looked at her disappearing figure, completely confused. After leaving the house, Zhang Cuiping hurried toward the neighboring Lu family village. About 20 minutes later, she arrived. An elderly woman named Lu Chunji lived there. The villagers respectfully called her sixth aunt. She was famous throughout the surrounding villages as someone who understood traditional fortune-telling. In the past, whenever families encountered major life events, many people would come to ask her for advice. But in recent years, because of the political climate, such things were considered superstition. Sixth aunt had stopped doing this work for a long time. Zhang Cuiping had gone through several personal connections before finally convincing her to make an exception, following directions from a villager. Zhang Cuiping arrived at sixth aunt's house. Before she even knocked, an old but clear voice came from inside. The gate isn't locked. Come in. Zhang Cuiping pushed open the creaking wooden door and entered. The main room door was open. Inside, a kerosene lamp gave off a dim yellow glow. Sitting on the Kong was an elderly woman with white hair and a thin face. This was the person she came to find, sixth aunt. Zhang Cuiping respectfully greeted her. Sit down. Sixth aunt looked at her and nodded slightly. Zhang Cuiping sat down. Before she could explain why she had come, sixth aunt spoke first. You came to ask about your son's marriage, didn't you? Write down their birth dates. Hearing this, Zhang Cuiping was stunned. Sixth aunt truly lived up to her reputation. She had not even explained her purpose, yet the old woman already knew. She quickly took out the red paper she had prepared and carefully wrote down Qinyang and Su Wanwan's information. After finishing, she respectfully handed the paper over. Please take a look. Sixth aunt accepted the paper and carefully examined the details. Her originally cloudy eyes suddenly became sharper. Her lips moved slightly, as if she was silently calculating something. Her fingers moved as well. Zhang Cuiping unconsciously held her breath, afraid of disturbing her. After a while, sixth aunt stopped. She looked up. How is it? Zhang Cuiping leaned forward nervously. Don't worry. Sixth aunt smiled gently. These two children have very good fortunes. They are a very suitable match. Oh, that's wonderful. Zhang Cuiping immediately smiled. Could you tell me more? Sixth aunt nodded. Your son's destiny is unusual. He carries 2 golden keys in his fortune. These are symbols of opening wealth. Although he may experience hardship when he is young, his middle years will surely bring success. As for this girl, she carries 3 treasure basins in her destiny. She is someone who knows how to manage a household. Most importantly, she has a fire element in her fate, which can help your son overcome difficulties. These 2 children complement each other perfectly. Your son's golden keys can open her treasure basins, and her fire can illuminate his path. After marriage, their life will surely become prosperous and full of happiness. Haha, really? Zhang Cuiping was overjoyed. That's wonderful. Then could you help choose a lucky wedding date? Sixth aunt closed her eyes and calculated for a moment. According to the calendar, the 8th day of the 8th lunar month would be a good day. You can set the wedding for that day. Good. We'll follow your advice. Zhang Cuiping nodded repeatedly. Before leaving, she thanked Sixth aunt and handed her 1 yuan. But Sixth aunt suddenly stopped her. I also calculated something else. Your son has recently encountered a troublesome person. There may be some small difficulties ahead, but nothing serious. Just remind him to be careful. Zhang Cuiping's expression became serious. Thank you, Sixth aunt. I'll definitely remind him. By the time Zhang Cuiping returned home, the entire family had already been waiting around the dinner table. The food is almost cold. Where did your mother go? Why hasn't she come back? Chun Jianya looked toward the courtyard entrance, worry appearing in his voice. Dad, should I yawn and I go look for her? Chen Luo suggested. Just as he finished speaking, Zhang Cuiping appeared at the doorway. Where did you go? You didn't even say anything before leaving. Chun Jianya looked at his wife with a slightly annoyed expression. I left in a hurry and forgot. Zhang Cuiping sat down beside him. You should have eaten first. All right, everyone eat. She looked around. I'll tell you everything after dinner. Tonight's meal was especially rich, steaming white rice, fresh stir-fried venison, golden crispy pork, refreshing cucumber salad, tender braised venison ribs with potatoes and beans, and a nourishing deer supplement soup. Looking at such a feast, Zhang Cuiping felt a little heartbroken. All this meat could have lasted the family half a month if they ate carefully. Now it was being finished in one meal. But seeing everyone happily enjoying themselves, she swallowed her complaints, since she had prepared it. Everyone should enjoy it. After everyone finished eating, Zhang Cuiping finally cleared her throat. I went to Lu family village today and asked Sixth aunt for advice. The 8th day of the 8th lunar month will be a good day. She looked at Chun Yang and Su Wanwan. Wanwan, Chun Yang. Your wedding date will be set for that day. What do you think? Su Wanwan's face turned red. I have no objections. I'll listen to aunt's arrangement. I have no objections either. Since Su Wanwan agreed, Chun Yang naturally had no reason to refuse. Good. Then it's settled. Zhang Cuiping happily announced. She then turned toward Chun Jianya. Since the wedding date is decided, it's time for us to build a new house. It is time. Chun Jianya nodded. Tomorrow I'll report it to the brigade. We still have more than a month before the wedding. If we gather enough people, there will be plenty of time. He looked at Chun Luo and Li Minghua. First we'll build the new house for your younger brother. After his wedding is finished, we'll build one for you two as well. Chun Jianya and Zhang Cuiping had always been fair parents. They treated both sons equally. That was why the brothers had always gotten along so well. Now that they had decided to build new houses, they naturally couldn't only consider their younger son. Fortunately, the family's financial situation had improved. Building one house for each son was now possible. If they weren't worried about attracting too much attention, they could even start both projects at the same time. Chun Jianya began calculating. For Qin Yang, he planned to build a proper blue tile house. Based on current prices, a standard blue tile house required at least 8 or 900 yuan including materials and labor. However, building a house in this era wasn't something that could be solved with money alone. Bricks, tiles, and timber were all restricted supplies requiring approval. Labor arrangements also had to be calculated through work points. Fortunately, these problems were not difficult for Chun Jianya. He was a combat hero who had earned both second-class and third-class merits. Because of that status, he could enjoy certain policy advantages that I woke up the next morning with my mother's warnings still lingering in my mind. She had said that the old fortune teller believed I might run into some trouble soon, that I didn't think too much of it. Things like fortune telling were impossible to prove. Some people believed in it, others didn't. I figured it was better to stay cautious, but there was no need to let it affect my life. After the family finished discussing the wedding and the new house, my father urged everyone to get some rest. Watching my father and my older brother hurry off with unusually cheerful expressions, I couldn't help wondering if that tiger bone wine really was that powerful that I had drunk it too. So why didn't I feel anything? The next morning, I walked out of my room with dark circles under my eyes and happened to run into Su Wenwan, who had just finished washing up. Qin Yang, why do you look so tired today? Didn't you sleep well last night? She asked softly, walking closer with concern in her eyes. I yawned. Yeah, I couldn't fall asleep. I kept tossing and turning all night. Then maybe you should skip work today, eat breakfast, and rest for a while. Her concern warmed my heart that I reached out and gently patted her head. No need. I still have something important to do today. Su Wenwan nodded obediently. Then I'll make breakfast for you. Strange, why haven't auntie and sister-in-law gotten up yet? She looked toward the two closed bedroom doors. Usually, at this hour, my mother Zhang Ziping and my sister-in-law Li Mingwei would have already cleaned the courtyard and started preparing breakfast. Maybe yesterday's work tired them out. Let them sleep a little longer, I said with a smile. After washing up, I naturally walked into the kitchen to help Su Wenwan. I rolled up my sleeves, carried water, and washed vegetables while she stood beside me slicing potatoes into thin, even strips. The fire in the stove flickered, casting a warm glow across the small kitchen that we didn't say much, but somehow we always understood what the other person needed at a glance. A small movement, and we already knew. For a moment, that simple kitchen felt like our whole world. By the time breakfast was almost ready, the rest of the family slowly got up. I noticed the satisfied expressions on my father and older brother's faces and immediately understood that tiger bone wine really lived up to its reputation. After breakfast, my mother took my older brother, sister-in-law, and Su Wenwan to work in the fields. My father stayed behind to arrange matters for the new house. I finished the last bite of food, then suddenly remembered the traps I had set in the mountains 2 days ago. I had never checked them. I quickly wiped my mouth and headed toward the forest. When I arrived, I found that all the traps had been triggered. Unfortunately, there was nothing left to collect. The prey caught by the traps had already been eaten by wild animals after being left there for more than a day. I crouched down and carefully examined the traces around the traps. Then I saw them. Large footprints pressed deeply into the soft soil. My expression changed. These were bear tracks. A wild black bear had been here. Judging from the size and depth of the prints, it was definitely a fully grown beast. My eyes lit up immediately. A black bear was worth a fortune. The paws, the gallbladder, the hide. Every part of it was valuable. But hunting a bear was not something that could be rushed. This was not the right time. I needed to prepare properly. After checking the area, I turned and headed back down the mountain. Unexpectedly, my luck was still good. Halfway down, I encountered another valuable catch. A flying dragon bird was resting on a tree branch. The locals called it dragon meat from the sky. It was actually the hazel grouse, a rare bird native to the greater Shingon Mountains. Its meat was tender and delicious, considered a prized delicacy. The bird didn't even realize the danger before my rifle brought it down. Since I was going to visit the village chief today, this was a perfect gift. I carried the bird home first, grabbed 2 packs of cigarettes, then headed toward village chief Chen Changjuan's house. When I arrived, the door was opened by his wife, Zhao Yinhuan. Auntie, is Uncle Changjun home? I need to talk to him about something. Oh, it's Yangzi, she replied warmly. Unfortunately, your uncle just went to the brigade office. Then I'll go find him there. I handed her the flying dragon bird. Auntie, I just caught this. It's still fresh. Keep it and make some soup. She immediately tried to refuse. Oh, no. How can I take something this valuable? In those days, meat was difficult to come by. Even the village chief's family rarely ate anything special. A flying dragon bird could easily sell for several yuan in the county. But I simply placed it in her hands. Please keep it. I still need to find Uncle Changjun. I'll leave first. Before she could say anything else, I turned and walked away. Zhao Yinhuan looked at my disappearing figure, then looked down at the bird in her hands. A smile slowly appeared on her face. This child. When I arrived at the brigade office, I found Chen Changjun sitting inside, drinking tea and reading a newspaper. Uncle Changjun. He looked up and smiled. Chen, what brings you here today? I walked over and sat down. I wouldn't come here without a reason. I actually need your help with something. Oh, tell me. I smiled. I'm getting married. Chen Changjun immediately put down his newspaper. What? You're getting married? That's wonderful news. The date has been set for the 8th day of the 8th lunar month. I came here because I need approval to build a new house. That's a good thing. No problem. He nodded immediately. Where are you planning to build it? Next to our old house. I want to tear down the western room and rebuild it. All right. I'll write the approval right now. He pulled out the paperwork, quickly filled it out, and stamped it with the brigade seal. Here, take this back. Your father can use it to register with the commune. I carefully put away the approval slip. There's one more thing I need your help with, uncle. I placed 2 packs of cigarettes on the table. Chen Changjun narrowed his eyes. Young man, what are you planning now? I smiled awkwardly. 2 days ago, I hunted a sika deer in the mountains and sold it with Ji Gang at the county purchasing station. I wanted to ask you for a certificate to confirm it. The moment he heard that, Chen Changjun stood up. What? You borrowed the ox cart to sell deer meat. His voice rose. You two really had some courage. In those years, large wild animals belonged to the collective. Catching small game like rabbits or pheasants was usually ignored, but large animals had to be reported. Selling them privately could be considered illegal trading. Uncle, don't worry. Look at this. I quickly took out my hunting permit and firearm permit. Chen Changjun took the documents and opened them. The moment he saw the words on the permit, his eyes widened. A production hunting permit? He looked at me in surprise. This kind of permit was extremely difficult to obtain, that he never expected the Chun family to have such connections. With this permit, as long as the animals were not sold through illegal channels, selling them to official purchasing stations, supply cooperatives, or state-owned restaurants was completely legal, which meant if I had obtained this permit a few days earlier, I wouldn't even have needed the brigade's certificate for that deer. After Chen Changjun finished looking over my permits, he finally relaxed. All right, since everything checks out, I'll help you write this certificate. I had the proper documents, and the Chun family had known his family for years. In his eyes, this was a favor he could reasonably do. He picked up his pen and quickly wrote another approval note. The only difference was that the date on it was quietly moved back by 2 days. That I accepted the document, thanked him again, and left the brigade office. Not long after I walked away, Qin Hanming entered. Captain Chun, I'd like to go to the county supply store tomorrow to buy some things. Could you please issue me a travel certificate? His attitude was polite and respectful. During this era, anyone from the countryside who wanted to enter the county needed an official travel document issued by the production brigade. The certificate had to include their name, background, and reason for travel. Going to the supply store to buy necessities was completely normal. So Chen Changjun didn't think much about it. He simply followed the procedure and issued Qin Hanming a 1-day pass. Meanwhile, after returning home, I found that my father, Chun Jianya, had already come back from the commune. The application for building our new house had been submitted. I handed him the brigade approval document. Without wasting any time, he took the paperwork and headed straight back to the county commune. Thanks to my father's status as a retired combat hero, combined with the complete paperwork, the approval process went extremely smoothly. The application was approved that very day. The officials even gave us some additional support according to the policies of the time. With the commune approval in hand, my father went back to Chen Changjun. The brigade leader immediately started making arrangements. Workers were gathered. The old house would be torn down. The new house would soon begin construction. The news spread throughout Red Flag Brigade almost instantly. The Chin family was building a new house. And not just any house, that a proper blue tile brick house. Back then, most rural families still lived in mud brick houses. Those with worse conditions could only squeeze into thatched huts. The blue tile house was something extremely rare. Soon, the whole village was talking about it. Some people were genuinely happy for us. Some were jealous. And many families secretly regretted not arranging a marriage with me earlier. When my mother Zhang Cuiping walked through the village, she could feel everyone's eyes following her. Her back was straighter than ever, and the pride on her face was impossible to hide. Many village girls looked at Su Wanwan and felt a little bitter for Chen Jinju. Her feelings were complicated. Back then, she had never taken me seriously. She had believed Qin Hanming, a young man from the capital, had a much brighter future. Who could have expected the Chen family to rise so quickly? Even I had changed completely in her eyes. The person she once ignored now seemed like someone entirely different. The educated youth residents. Qin Hanming listened to everyone discussing the Chen family. A cold smile slowly appeared on his face. The Chen family had suddenly started buying expensive goods. Now they were even building a blue tile house. Where did all that money come from? He was almost certain the Chen family must have been involved in illegal trading. The travel certificate he requested was only a cover. His real purpose was to go to the county and report Chen Yang. He wanted to strike. when the Chun family was at their happiest. He wanted everyone in the village to watch as the Chun family fell from their peak because of illegal dealings. Just wait. Qin Yang. Qin Hanming clenched his fists in his heart at the same time. I had taken Qin Jigang and little Do Do to the large river outside the village. The afternoon sunlight scattered across the water like broken gold that a gentle breeze carried the fresh smell of soil and river grass. Earlier at noon, I had cut 2 branches and made 2 simple fishing rods. The hooks were made from sewing needles. The fishing lines were made from hemp thread used for stitching shoes. Dodo proudly contributed half a jar of red earthworms he had dug up himself. The little worms twisted around inside the clay container. Brother Yang, are these really going to catch fish? Shin Jigang asked while looking at the crude fishing equipment. I laughed. Don't worry. The fish in this river aren't that clever. If they refuse to bite, you can always jump in and tell them a story until they get convinced. Shun Jigang laughed. Then he copied my movements and sat down beside the river. Dodo squatted between us. His big eyes stared at the small reed floating on the water. His face was filled with anticipation. Time passed quietly with the sound of flowing water. At first, nothing happened. Shun Jigang started becoming restless. I remained calm. Fishing is about patience. You can't rush it. Before I even finished speaking, my fishing rod suddenly sank. Got one. My eyes sharpened. I pulled upward with my wrist. The water splashed. The silver fish broke through the surface and swung in the sunlight, a crucian carp about the size of a hand. Wow, a fish. Future brother-in-law caught a fish. Dodo jumped up and cheered first. Shun Jigang immediately became excited. His doubts disappeared completely. After the first catch, the luck seemed to keep coming. Every so often, I pulled up another fish. Crucian carp, catfish, even a grass carp weighing more than 3 kilograms. The harvest was far better than expected. Shun Jigang finally caught his own fish, 2.2 small crucian carp. He was so happy he could barely stop smiling. Dodo's job was guarding the bucket, watching the fish swimming around inside. He was happier than anyone. By sunset, the river was covered in warm golden light. I looked at the full bucket and estimated that it would be enough for the family to enjoy several good meals. That's enough. Let's pack up and go home. The 3 of us cleaned up the fishing gear. I carried the heavy bucket. Shun Jigang and Dodo walked beside me. Dodo excitedly talked the entire way about whether dinner should be fish soup or braised fish. His cheerful voice echoed along the riverbank. When I returned to the courtyard, I saw Dodo waving his hands dramatically as he told his story. His little face was red with excitement. Su Wenwan sat nearby on a small stool. She tilted her head slightly, listening with a gentle smile. The sunset covered her with a soft glow. Back already? Hearing my footsteps, she looked up. Her eyes curved into a warm smile. She naturally stood up and walked over. Did you finish giving away the fish? Yeah, they're all sent out. I lifted the basket in my hand. Inside was a block of fresh white tofu. Look, Aunt Zhao insisted on giving this to us. Tonight, we'll make crucian carp tofu soup. I guarantee it'll be so good you'll want to swallow your tongues. Haha, great. Dodo wants fish soup made by future brother-in-law. The little guy immediately abandoned his fishing adventure story. He clapped his hands and ran around me excitedly. All right. I'll make it for you, little foodie. I smiled and rubbed his soft hair, but my eyes happened to meet Su Wenwan's smiling gaze. The courtyard was filled with a simple, genuine warmth. After dinner, the whole family sat together around the table. Everyone looked satisfied. The pot of crucian carp tofu soup had already been emptied. Only a little milky broth and a few pieces of green onion remained. Hick. My older brother Chen Luo rubbed his full stomach. Little brother, your cooking is incredible. That soup tonight was so fresh, I almost swallowed my tongue. My father took a sip of tea, his face full of comfort. That's enough about the food. We should talk about the important matter too. He smiled. The brigade leader finished arranging the workers today. Tomorrow morning, our new house can officially start construction. Everyone was happy, but my mother quickly thought about the practical problem. She looked at my father. Janya, being happy is good, but more than 10 strong workers are coming to help. Our grain probably won't last long. Shouldn't we prepare more? My father frowned. That's the problem. Even if we only provide 2 meals a day, a month of food for so many people will consume a huge amount. He lowered his voice. We have money now, but we don't have enough grain coupons. I had been listening quietly. Then I spoke. Dad, if we don't have coupons, we can buy from the black market. It might cost more, but our family can afford it now. I paused and continued. Tomorrow I'll go into the mountains again. If I can bring back some game, we can add some meat to the workers' meals. Good food will give them more strength to work. As I said that, I remembered the huge bear tracks I discovered earlier. Tomorrow, I would bring Jigang's hunting dog. If everything went well, maybe I could track down that black bear. Early that morning, the Chun family was already awake. Today was the day construction would begin. Before the new house could be built, the old room had to be cleared out first. The Chun family's home had a traditional layout, with 3 connected sections facing south. The room being torn down was the west room, the one where I had been sleeping. After moving all the furniture and belongings into the other 2 rooms, my bed was temporarily set up in the main room. The left room belonged to Su Wenwan. The right room was where my parents slept. My bed was placed in the corner of the main room beside Su Wenwan's room. For the next month or so, this would be where I slept. After everything was moved, we ate a simple breakfast. Not long afterward, the villagers who had come to help build the house arrived. Everyone, thank you for coming. The next month will be a lot of hard work. I'll be relying on all of you. My father, Chun Janya, handed out cigarettes to everyone with a smile. Haha, Janya, don't worry. We'll make sure your house is built properly. That's right. We'll make it sturdy and beautiful. The villagers happily accepted the cigarettes and promised. Then my father continued. Everyone helping with the construction will receive 1 yuan a day, and we'll provide lunch and dinner. The moment he said that, everyone became even more excited. They had expected only work points. They never imagined they would also receive wages and 2 meals. Janya, that's too generous. Yeah, now we get work points, money, and meals too. Exactly. Only the Chun family would treat people this well. Before this, helping someone build a house usually meant 70 cents a day and only 1 meal. The workers were clearly delighted. They looked at my father with gratitude. Under the direction of the construction leader, everyone began tearing down the old room. The noise quickly attracted many villagers. Before long, people were gathered both inside and outside our yard. The whole place became lively. I had already packed my things and was preparing to head into the mountains. Be careful in the mountains, Su Wenwan said softly. Come back early. Don't worry. I'll be back before dark. I smiled. By the way, there are still some fish in the kitchen. Ask Mom to cook them for everyone helping with the house. All right. Su Wenwan nodded obediently. After leaving home, I went directly to Chun Jigang's house. After telling Chun Daniu and his family where we were going, Jigang and I took his 2 hunting dogs, Huang Mao and Haitan, and headed into the mountains. When we reached the area where I had found the bear tracks, Chun Jigang immediately became excited. Brother Yang, look at these footprints. This bear must be huge. It's definitely a big one, I said seriously. But whether we can actually find it depends on luck. Chun Jigang looked confused. Why? I pointed at the tracks. A black bear's territory can cover dozens of square kilometers. An adult bear can travel more than 20 kilometers in a single day. These footprints were left 2 days ago. That bear could be anywhere by now. Chun Jigang thought about it, then smiled. That's true. But maybe we're lucky. And even if we don't find it, we can still hunt something else. I nodded. Then I brought Huang Mao and Haitan over to the footprints. I let them carefully smell the remaining scent. After repeating the process several times, I finally gave the command. The 2 hunting dogs lifted their heads. They began sniffing the air. Then they started tracking. Jigang and I followed behind them, deeper into the old forest. This was the difference between ordinary tracking dogs and air-scenting hunting dogs. Most hunting dogs tracked by following scent left on the ground. But if prey crossed water, left the ground, or too much time passed, the trail could disappear. Air-scenting dogs were different. They could follow the scent floating in the air itself. That ability made them far more effective. Following Huang Mao and Haitan, Jigang and I unknowingly entered the deepest part of the old forest. The sunlight became weaker. Ancient trees stretched toward the sky. Their thick branches and leaves blocked most of the light. Only occasional rays slipped through the gaps, leaving scattered patches of brightness on the thick layer of fallen leaves. The air carried the smell of soil, decaying wood, and wild plants. Every step sank slightly into years of accumulated leaves. Dry branches cracked softly beneath our feet, huge vines hung from tree trunks like giant snakes. Unknown mushrooms grew quietly in the shadows. Both Ji-gang and I naturally slowed down to eye in a place untouched by people. Danger could appear anywhere. Ji-gang, be careful, I warned. Places like this have all kinds of snakes and insects. I know. He immediately became serious. But the untouched forest also meant abundant resources. Not long after entering, we had already collected a large number of mushrooms. Most of them were rare monkey head mushrooms that I also discovered several valuable herbs. Red peony root, astragalus, and even 2 wild lingji mushrooms. Point one was a red lingji. The other was a pine fir lingji. The second one was larger. Judging by their appearance, both were likely more than 10 years old, even if we failed to catch any prey. Today, these herbs alone could probably bring in several hundred yuan. The trip was already worthwhile. Suddenly, Huang Mao's ears stood straight up that a low growl came from its throat. The dog instantly rushed toward a nearby bush. Whoosh! A black shadow shot out. It quickly climbed onto a pine tree. The 2 hunting dogs surrounded the tree and barked loudly that I looked upward. The animal hiding on the branch was actually one of the famous treasures of northeast China. A sable that it sat on a thick branch, staring down at Huang Mao with alert black eyes. Its fluffy tail moved slightly. Its purple-brown fur shimmered under the sunlight that a precious pelt. I immediately raised my rifle. The sable had no idea what was coming. It continued watching the barking dogs below, almost as if mocking them. Then, bang! The gunshot exploded through the silent forest. Birds scattered into the sky. The surrounding bushes shook. The sable fell from the branch. The shot had damaged the head badly. I looked at the animal in my hand. Hopefully the damage wouldn't reduce the value of the fur too much. Brother Yang, what did you get? Chun Ji-gang rushed over with heightened. He had heard the gunshot and immediately came running. Nothing special, just a sable. I lifted the animal. A sable? Ji-gang's eyes widened. This is one of the most valuable furs. The pelt alone can sell for dozens of yuan. I placed the sable into my basket. How was your harvest? It's pretty late. We should prepare to head back. Ji-gang showed me his basket. I collected some herbs, and I also used my slingshot to get 2 rabbits. Not bad. I nodded with satisfaction. This trip wasn't wasted. Let's pack up and leave. The 2 of us counted our harvest and began following our original path back to the same time. Inside the county public security office, Qin Hanming sat upright across from a serious-looking officer. Comrade, I want to report someone from Red Flag Brigade. Someone there is secretly involved in illegal trading activities. His voice was full of confidence. When I returned from the mountains, I still had no idea that a storm was already waiting for me at home at the county security office. Qin Hanming's eyes flashed with resentment. But in front of the security officers, he quickly put on a righteous expression. Comrade, I want to report Chun Jianya's family from Red Flag Brigade. The main person involved is his son, Chen Yang. I personally saw their family bring back an entire cart full of expensive goods a few days ago. Food, daily necessities, all kinds of things. And that's not all. Their family is now preparing to build a brand new blue tile house. Everyone knows their family is just an ordinary middle peasant household. Where could they possibly get that much money? I strongly suspect their money came from illegal activities. They must have been involved in speculation and illegal trading. After hearing Qin Hanming's report, the security officer surnamed Li became even more serious. He didn't dare delay it. He immediately went inside to report to his superior, Captain Zhang Qingshan, the leader of the County Security Bureau's 2nd Squad. Captain Zhang was known throughout the Bureau for being strict, principled, and thorough. Report, Captain. Someone has reported that villagers from Red Flag Brigade may be involved in illegal trading. Zhang Qingshan looked up. Has the situation been verified? How reliable is the evidence? Currently, there is no direct evidence. However, according to the informant, this household has recently purchased a large amount of goods beyond what their normal income would allow. They are also preparing to build a relatively expensive blue tile house. The situation does appear suspicious. Zhang Qingshan thought for a moment before making a decision. Since someone has reported it, we need to investigate clearly. Take 2 people and come with me. We'll go to Red Flag Brigade. Yes, Captain. Sitting in the sidecar of the military motorcycle heading toward Red Flag Brigade, Qin Hanming could barely hide his excitement. He imagined the scene over and over. Qin Yang's family being exposed, their reputation ruined, everyone in the village watching them fall. The corners of his mouth almost lifted into a smile. This moment, he was already imagining the Chun family being taken away in disgrace. Meanwhile, completely unaware of the trouble approaching, I was still deep in the mountains with Qin Jigang. Jigang, do you actually know the way or not? I looked at the person walking in front of me with suspicion. We've been walking for almost an hour. Why haven't we reached the village entrance yet? The reason for this situation was simple. After leaving the old forest, Jigang had confidently claimed he knew a shortcut. He said his father had taken him through this path before, and it would save nearly 20 minutes that I believed him. The result? We had been wandering around the mountain for almost an extra hour. Brother Yang, it was just a small mistake. Qin Jigang scratched his head awkwardly. My memory slipped. I remembered the wrong turning. Don't worry, next time I definitely. Stop right there. I interrupted him. Don't even talk about next time. I shouldn't have trusted you. You unreliable guy. Qin Jigang laughed awkwardly. The two of us continued arguing while walking. Eventually, the outline of the village finally appeared. But as we got closer to home, I noticed something strange. There were many people gathered outside our courtyard. At first, I didn't think much of it. I assumed everyone was still coming to watch the construction of our new house. Then a familiar villager spotted me. His expression changed. He quickly ran over. Yangzi, you're finally back. Quick, find somewhere to hide. Someone reported your family for illegal trading. There are several security officers with those big caps in your yard right now. They're checking everything. My expression instantly changed that I didn't even have time to thank him. Ignoring his warning, I rushed straight toward my home. The moment I entered the courtyard, everyone's eyes turned toward me. There were worried looks from the villagers, serious eyes from the security officers, and standing beside them, a smug-looking Qin Hanming. Captain Zhang? That's him. That's Qin Yang. Qin Hanming immediately pointed at me. His voice trembled with excitement. Look at him carrying a gun. He must have just come down from the mountain. And that basket on his back definitely contains the evidence from his illegal activities. This time, we caught him red-handed. Qin Hanming was certain he had won. But when I looked toward my family, I saw something different. Desu Wenwan's eyes were already red. She looked at me with worry and feared. My mother, my older brother, and my sister-in-law all looked anxious. Only my father, Chun Jianya, remained calm. His expression was serious, but there was no panic in his eyes. That I quickly looked over my family and gave them a reassuring glance. Then I walked steadily into the middle of the courtyard. The leader of the security team, Zhang Qingshan, stepped forward. Comrade Qin Yang, we received a real-name report accusing your family of engaging in illegal trading activities. We need to inspect the items in your basket according to procedure. Please cooperate. Of course. I calmly nodded. That I reached toward the basket on my back. Don't move. Zhang Qingshan suddenly stopped me. His voice was firm. That my hand paused in midair. That I looked at him in confusion. Without explaining, Zhang Qingshan stepped forward. He carefully removed the 56 type semi-automatic rifle from my shoulder and handed it to another officer. Only after securing the weapon did he relax slightly. Then he motioned for me to put down the basket. That I smiled. That I understood his caution. That I removed the basket and placed it on the ground. Officer Lee immediately stepped forward and began checking the contents. But after only a quick look, his expression changed. He looked up at Zhang Qingshan. Captain, there are some valuable medicinal herbs inside. And there's also a dead sable. Ha! Qin Hanming immediately laughed. Everyone heard that, right? Rare medicinal herbs. A sable. The evidence is right here. You caught him red-handed. Captain Zhang, hurry. Arrest him. Zhang Qingshan's eyebrows tightened. He turned his sharp gaze toward Qin Hanming. Are you telling me how to do my job? The smile on Qin Hanming's face froze. No, of course not. His arrogance disappeared instantly. Zhang Qingshan turned back to me. His expression remained serious. Qin Yang, these items, and the property your family recently acquired, were all reported as having unknown origins. Do you have an explanation? I looked directly at Qin Hanming. My family's belongings, including everything in my basket, all have legal sources. As for Qin Hanming's report, my eyes turned cold. It is nothing more than a personal grudge. He is making a malicious accusation. Ha! Qin Hanming laughed mockingly. You're still trying to deny it. You were caught with the evidence. You claim everything is legal? Then show everyone the proof. Anyone can say empty words. Zhang Qingshan looked back at me. His eyes clearly indicated that he needed evidence. Please wait a moment. All my documents are inside the house. I'll bring them out. Is that all right? Zhang Qingshan nodded. Go ahead. I turned and entered the house. A short while later, I walked back out holding a stack of documents that I handed them directly to Zhang Qingshan. Captain Zhang, please take a look. This is my hunting permit. This is my firearm permit. This is the hunting approval document issued by the brigade. These are the receipts and payment records from selling my previous hunt at the county purchasing station. And these are the purchase receipts from the supply store. The moment Qin Hanming saw the documents, his heart sank and a bad feeling suddenly appeared. Could it be? Could Qinyang really have everything properly documented? By the time the security officers finished checking my documents, the atmosphere in the courtyard had completely changed. Captain Zhang Qingshan took the certificates and receipts I handed him and examined them one by one with extreme care. The official receipt from the county purchasing station clearly recorded every detail. The spotted deer meat totaled 287.6 pounds. The purchasing price was 1.8 yuan per pound, making the total payment 517.68 yuan. The deer antlers weighed 1.5 pounds and were purchased as valuable medicinal material, with a total price of 735 yuan. The complete deer hide was valued at 36 yuan. The purchasing station's official seal was stamped clearly on the document, proving that I had sold everything through a legitimate state-owned channel. Even the receipts for the expensive goods I had bought from the supply store were all there. The dates and amounts matched perfectly. My hunting permit and firearm permit were also valid and officially issued in my name. All these documents formed a complete chain of evidence. My income was legitimate and my purchases followed regulations. There was no illegal trading involved at all. Captain Zhang organized the documents and returned them to me. The seriousness on his face finally softened, and there was even a hint of approval in his eyes. Comrade Qinyang, the certificates and receipts you provided are complete. The procedures all comply with regulations. After verification, we can confirm that you have not engaged in illegal trading. Thank you, Captain Zhang, for clearing my family's name. I carefully put the documents away. Then my expression changed to my voice became cold. Since that matter is settled, can I formally file a report now? Captain Zhang was slightly surprised. A report? What do you want to report? I straightened my back and looked directly at Qin Hanming. My voice rang clearly through the quiet courtyard. I, Qinyang, formally request an investigation. I am accusing educated youth Qin Hanming of maliciously making false accusations and attempting to frame a revolutionary hero's family. The moment those words came out, the entire courtyard fell silent. Everyone's eyes turned toward Qin Hanming. Under the pressure of my accusation and all those watching eyes, Qin Hanming's face instantly turned pale. His legs went weak. He collapsed onto the ground. Finished it, he knew he was finished. He had calculated everything. But he never expected that my father, Chen Jinya, had another identity, a revolutionary hero in this era, falsely accusing the family of a recognized revolutionary contributor. Was not something that could simply be dismissed as a misunderstanding. I stepped forward. My father joined the War of Liberation. He fought on the battlefield, shed blood, suffered injuries, and received both a second-class merit award and a third-class merit award. He is a revolutionary contributor recognized by the country and the people. My voice carried across the silent courtyard. And now Qin Hanming, a young intellectual undergoing ideological education, has used his personal jealousy and resentment to accuse my family of illegal trading. What kind of behavior is this? This is jealousy. This is a failure of ideological awareness. And even worse, it is malicious retaliation against the family of a revolutionary contributor. I turned toward Captain Zhang. Captain Zhang, I request that the organization thoroughly investigate Qin Hanming's false accusation. Such behavior must be dealt with seriously according to regulations, not only to restore my family's reputation, but also to protect the dignity of those who have contributed to the country. Captain Zhang's expression became extremely serious. He nodded firmly. Comrade Qinyang, you and your family can rest assured. Our security bureau will investigate this matter thoroughly and give you a fair explanation. If the accusation was deliberately fabricated, we will handle it according to regulations. We will not tolerate such behavior. After saying that, he turned to his officers. Take him away. Two security officers immediately stepped forward. They helped the completely defeated Qin Hanming up and escorted him toward the motorcycle waiting outside. As the motorcycle carried Qin Hanming away, the villagers surrounding the courtyard immediately started discussing what had happened. No one knew that Jianya had actually earned such great merits in the army. That's right. We only knew he had served as a soldier. We never imagined he had done so much. Falsely accusing a revolutionary contributor's family. Qin Hanming really brought disaster upon himself this time. I always thought the Qin family were honest people. This Qin really let jealousy get the better of him. After the disturbance ended, my family stayed outside for a while, talking with the villagers who had come to show their concern. Only when evening arrived did everyone gradually leave. That night, our family sat together after dinner. Thinking back on what happened during the day, my mother still looked shaken. Even now, my heart is still racing when I think about it. That scared me half to death. All right, it's over now, my father comforted her. Thankfully, everything turned out fine. He looked at me with approval. Speaking of which, we really have to thank the second son. He prepared all those documents and receipts ahead of time. If we didn't have them today, things really could have become troublesome. That's right, little brother. My older brother Chen Luo slapped my shoulder happily. You really are incredible. How did you think of preparing everything beforehand? I smiled. It wasn't because I expected Qin Hanming to report us. When I handled those procedures, I simply thought everything should be done according to the rules. That way, if problems appeared later, we would have proof. Who would have thought the trouble would come so quickly? Everyone laughed. Even little Daodu joined in. Future brother-in-law is the strongest. The little guy didn't fully understand what had happened, but that didn't stop him from admiring me in his small world. Someone who could hunt, fish, and make bad people lose was already the most amazing person alive. His innocent words instantly washed away the last bit of tension in the house. Su Wenwan sat quietly beside me. She smiled softly. Her bright eyes reflected my figure. There was trust. There was relief. And there was a little pride she didn't try to hide. Although today's incident had been dangerous, it also solved a future problem. After this, anyone with bad intentions would have to think carefully before causing trouble. At least when I went hunting in the future, nobody would dare accuse me of illegal trading so easily. As for Qin Hanming's final punishment, I believed it would not be light. The old house had already been demolished today. Tomorrow, construction on the new house could officially begin. There was only a little more than a month before the wedding. Before then, I needed to earn enough money and prepare the 3 turns and 1 sound gifts that I wanted to give Su Wenwan a grand wedding. The next morning, Su Wenwan woke up early as usual. She quietly opened the door. Turning around, she saw me still sleeping. I was lying comfortably on the bed, breathing steadily. Looking at my peaceful sleeping face, she couldn't help smiling. A mischievous thought suddenly appeared in her mind. She quietly walked over and crouched beside the bed. The morning light entered through the window. She looked at me carefully, then suddenly realized what she was doing, and her face quickly turned red. She hurriedly tried to stand up, but because she moved too quickly, she accidentally tripped over the nearby table leg. Ah! With a soft cry, she lost her balance and fell onto the bed. The impact immediately woke me up. Still half asleep, I instinctively reached out to steady her. The sudden situation left both of us frozen. A moment later, Su Wenwan quickly scrambled up. Her face was completely red. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Seeing her panic, I couldn't help laughing. Why did you fall onto my bed? She became even more flustered. I was just getting something. Really? I looked at her embarrassed expression and immediately guessed she wasn't telling the whole truth. What were you getting? I forgot. She quickly turned around. I'm leaving first. But I caught her hand. You caused me trouble, and now you're leaving? She lowered her head. Then, what do you want? I smiled. Give me a kiss, and I'll forgive you. Her face became even redder. That won't work. What if Annie sees? It'll only take a second. She hesitated for a long time. Finally, she looked toward my parents' room and gathered her courage. She leaned closer. But just before she reached my cheek, I suddenly turned my head. The result was an unexpected kiss. Su-Wan's eyes widened. She froze completely. Then she immediately pushed me away and ran out of the room. Watching her embarrassed escape, I couldn't help smiling. After that little accident, I had no more sleep left. I got dressed and walked outside that Su-Wan was already washing up. The moment our eyes met, she immediately puffed out her cheeks and gave me an angry look. But her red ears completely betrayed her embarrassment. Stupid Chinyang. Big troublemaker. I laughed and walked away. A little later, I sat beside my father. Dad, give me 200 yuan. I'm going into town today to sell the medicinal herbs I collected yesterday. I'll take 1 yuan with me. I'm thinking about buying a bicycle. It'll make future trips to town much easier. We can't keep borrowing the brigade's cart forever. And I also want to buy 1 yuan something. My father smoked quietly for a moment before nodding. A bicycle would indeed make things much more convenient. Our family should add a big item now. But money alone isn't enough. You also need an industrial voucher. We don't have one. Don't worry about that, I said confidently. I have a way to get one. My father looked at my expression and nodded. All right, if you have a way, then that's fine. After breakfast, I put the medicinal herbs into my basket. My mother gave me the 200 yuan. Then I took Su-Wan to the brigade office. After borrowing the brigade's ox cart, I carefully helped her sit down. I sat at the front, raised the whip, and guided the ox forward. The cart slowly carried the two of us toward the county town. Take care of Su-Wan. I deliberately kept the ox cart moving at a slower pace, making the ride as smooth as possible. After more than 2 hours of steady travel, we finally reached the county town. The moment we entered, Su-Wan looked around with obvious curiosity. The county was far livelier than the countryside. Neat brick houses lined both sides of the streets, and every now and then, we could even see 2-story buildings. The pedestrians were dressed more neatly, with brighter colors than the villagers back home. Most people looked healthier too, carrying the energetic air that seemed unique to city residents. Seeing how focused she was, I smiled. 1 yuan, you came from a big city. You must have seen places much more prosperous than this county, right? Yes, cities are definitely more developed. She nodded, then smiled softly. But the feeling is different. This place feels more like real life. More grounded. More familiar. Let's go to the purchasing station first and sell the things we brought. I looked at her gently. After we finish our business, I'll take you around and have a proper look at the county. Okay. She happily agreed, her eyes full of curiosity. I've never seen what a purchasing station looks like. I guided the ox cart through the streets and quickly arrived at the county purchasing station. It was already close to 8:30 in the morning. There were only 4 or 5 people waiting outside, probably villagers selling mountain products. I parked the cart to the side, then took down the 2 baskets filled with medicinal herbs and the rolled-up purple sable pelt. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, it was finally our turn. I carried everything inside. The person handling purchases was a young man in his 20s. He was lowering his head, organizing paperwork. What are you selling? He didn't even look up when he asked. A pelt and some medicinal herbs. Hearing that, the young man raised his head. His eyes swept over me. Then they landed on Su-Wan beside me. The girl's appearance and gentle temperament stood out immediately. In this small county town, someone like her was indeed uncommon. The young man stared for a moment. My expression darkened. I stepped sideways and directly blocked his view of Su-Wan. Ahem. I deliberately cleared my throat. The young man finally came back to his senses. His face turned slightly red. Sorry. I was distracted. What kind of pelt and herbs are you selling? A purple sable pelt, plus some lingji, red peony root, and astragalus. Let me see the pelt. The young man looked at me again. We can accept the herbs too. Then he added honestly, but I suggest you take the medicinal herbs to the supply store instead. Their purchasing prices are usually a little higher than ours. I was slightly surprised. Then I smiled. Really? Thanks for reminding me. No problem. The young man waved his hand. I took out the purple sable pelt and handed it over He spread it across the table and carefully checked the fur quality, completeness, and size. After measuring it with a ruler, he nodded. The fur is in excellent condition. No damage at all. The size is also good. This reaches first-grade quality. He thought for a moment. Normal mink pelts are purchased at 90 yuan each. But yours is a rarer purple sable. The purchasing price is 120 yuan. That works. Please write the receipt. I was satisfied with the price. The young man nodded, stored the pelt away, prepared the receipt, then counted out 12 10 yuan bills from the drawer. While handing over the money, he lowered his voice curiously. Brother, the woman beside you is— I raised my eyebrows. A proud smile appeared on my face. She's my partner. We'll be holding our wedding soon. The young man froze. His expression became awkward. Brother, you really are lucky. Thanks. I counted the money carefully, confirmed the amount was correct, and thanked him. Then, naturally, I took Su Wenwan's hand and walked out of the purchasing station. Watching us leave side by side, the young man felt a little regretful. If he had known she was my future wife, he probably wouldn't have casually told us about the supply store's higher prices. After leaving the purchasing station, I took Su Wenwan directly to the supply store, the medicinal purchasing counter. I sold all the lingji, red peony root, astragalus, and other herbs I had collected. The final amount was 86 yuan. It was lower than I expected. It was even less valuable than the purple sable pelt. I originally thought these medicinal herbs would sell for over 100 yuan. But after thinking about it carefully, I understood. During this era, the mountains and forests were still rich with resources. Wild medicinal herbs were not as rare as they would become decades later. Naturally, the prices were lower. After finishing the sale, I parked the borrowed ox cart outside the supply store where it wouldn't block anyone. Then I took Su Wenwan and began walking around the county. As we walked through the lively streets, I saw many things I wanted to buy for her and my family. But every time I asked, I received the same answer. Comrade, this item requires a ticket. In this era, money alone was almost useless. Whether it was something big like a bicycle or sewing machine, or something small like soap or cloth, almost everything required a matching ticket. These tickets were distributed according to household registration quotas. Ordinary families rarely had extras that if someone wanted additional supplies, they had to find people operating in the gray market, ticket sellers. These people usually stayed near places like supply stores and department stores, where crowds gathered and transactions were easier. They dressed like ordinary people and behaved cautiously. Most carried an old handbag or a military-style shoulder bag filled with various scarce tickets. That I brought Su Wenwan to the area outside the department store. Instead of going inside, I stood in an unnoticed corner and quietly observed the passing crowd. Xinyang. After standing there for a while, Su Wenwan couldn't help asking softly, "What are we looking for?" "Ticket sellers." I lowered my voice. "Ticket sellers?" She became even more confused, following my gaze. She carefully examined the people around us. "Where are they?" "I don't see any." "Of course they're here." I smiled. "I've already noticed 2 or 3. My eyes stopped on a middle-aged man leaning against the wall near an alley entrance across from the department store. "That one. Let's go ask." I brought Su Wenwan over slowly. The man immediately became alert. He looked us over carefully. "Do you have extra tickets?" I stepped closer and asked quietly enough that only the two of us could hear. The ticket seller didn't answer immediately. He studied me and Su Wenwan for a few seconds, judging whether we were safe. Then he turned around and walked toward a quieter alley that I understood. Holding Su Wenwan's hand, I followed at a reasonable distance. After turning 2 corners, we entered a quiet, dead-end alley. The man stopped. "What kind of tickets do you need?" His tone was much friendlier now. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I asked, "What kind of tickets do you have?" That was the rule. You never revealed your needs first. The ticket seller patted his bulging military shoulder bag. "Grain tickets, meat tickets, sugar tickets, cloth tickets. Daily necessities too. Basically, I have everything." He smiled slightly. "It just depends on what you want and how much you need." "Do you have a bicycle ticket?" I asked directly. The moment the ticket seller heard that, his eyes lit up at a big customer. "I do." The man immediately became enthusiastic. "Brother, I happen to have a Flying Pigeon men's bicycle ticket right here." The Flying Pigeon brand was manufactured in Tianjin. In terms of reputation and quality, it was slightly below Shanghai's famous Forever and Phoenix brands, but it was still an excellent bicycle brand. More importantly, it was more affordable than the other two. How much? I asked calmly. The ticket seller rolled his eyes and put on a generous expression. Brother, I feel like we're getting along well. If you really want it, I'll give it to you for 80 yuan. Brother, that's too expensive. I smiled and shook my head. I really want it, but don't try to play games with me. The ticket seller's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected this young man to understand the market so well. He clearly wasn't someone he could casually fool. After hesitating for a moment, he forced a pained expression onto his face. All right, let's call it making a friend. 70 yuan. I'm practically selling it at a loss. 65. My tone remained calm, but there was no room for negotiation. I glanced gently at Su Wenwan beside me and continued. And to be honest, in the future I'll also need sewing machine tickets, watch tickets, and radio tickets. If we work together and everything goes smoothly, I'll definitely come back to you. The ticket seller's expression changed slightly. The 3 turns and 1 sound. This young man actually planned to buy all of them? He carefully examined me, especially the way I looked at Su Wenwan. There was no doubt in my eyes, only seriousness and affection. That he seemed to be judging whether I was truly capable of making such purchases. In this era, families that could collect the 3 turns and 1 sound were extremely rare. Even ordinary cadre families couldn't necessarily afford all 4 major items. But looking at my calm confidence, the ticket seller believed me about 70 or 80%. All right, 65 it is. He slapped his thigh. Brother, you're my friend now. If you need any tickets in the future, come to me first. I guarantee I'll give you the best price. He immediately reached into his bulging military shoulder bag and pulled out a brand new Flying Pigeon bicycle ticket. I didn't hesitate either, but I took out the stack of large bills from my pocket and began counting. Seeing the thick bundle of money, the last bit of doubt in the ticket seller's mind disappeared. Someone who could casually take out several hundred yuan was definitely not an ordinary person. The transaction was completed. I carefully put away the bicycle ticket and walked back with Su Wenwan. After walking a few steps, she gently tugged on my sleeve. What's wrong, Wenwan? I stopped and asked softly. She looked up at me. Her delicate eyebrows were slightly furrowed. Her expression was serious. Qin Yang, you said just now that you wanted to buy the 3 turns and 1 sound. I don't need those things. You work so hard to earn money. Don't spend it carelessly. I smiled. Isn't money earned so that we can spend it? I habitually wanted to pat her head. Don't worry. Hunting is easy for me. If I go into the mountains a few more times, the money will come back. Easy. Su Wenwan shook her head. Your hunting money is still earned through hard work. And it's dangerous. Her cheeks puffed slightly. She looked stubborn but adorable. I really don't care about those things. As long as we live a good life together, that's more important than anything else. I felt warmth spread through my heart. Silly girl. I patiently explained. First of all, hunting really isn't that difficult for me. And listen carefully. None of these things would be wasted. I counted on my fingers. Look, with a bicycle, it'll be much easier for me to go into town, sell things, and buy supplies. We can't keep borrowing the brigade's ox cart forever. A sewing machine at home would make things easier for Mom and my sister-in-law when they make clothes or repair things. And a radio is even better. The whole family can listen to news and plays together at night. These things aren't just for you. They're for our whole family. And if I can make your life more comfortable, I'll feel better too. Listening to my explanation, Su Wenwan blinked. It actually sounded reasonable. For a moment, she couldn't figure out how to argue. She still felt like something wasn't quite right. But she couldn't say exactly what. Come on. Let's go look at our bicycle first. Before she could think too much, I took her soft hand and led her toward the department store at the bicycle counter. A middle-aged female salesperson came over. Comrades, what do you need? Mississippi, I smiled politely. I'd like to buy a Flying Pigeon men's bicycle. The way I addressed her immediately made her smile. Her attitude became much warmer. To buy a bicycle, you need a ticket. Do you have one? Yes. I handed over the hard-earned ticket. How much is a Flying Pigeon? The salesperson carefully checked the ticket. Flying Pigeon 28-inch men's bicycle. 168 yuan. I nodded. Then I counted out 168 yuan and handed it over. All right, I'll write up the receipt. Then you can take the receipt to the warehouse and collect the bicycle. She quickly began preparing the paperwork. Thank you, Sister Haixia. I glanced at her name tag. Then I pointed toward a bright yellow dress hanging behind the counter. Sister Haixia, how much is that yellow dress? Oh, little comrade, you have excellent taste. The salesperson immediately became even more enthusiastic. This is the newest style from Shanghai. I heard it's very popular even in Hong Kong. It's made from Dacron fabric. It's cool, comfortable, and holds its shape well. One dress costs 32 yuan. When Su Wenwan heard the price, she quietly took a breath. 32 yuan. That was almost an entire month's salary for an ordinary worker. She quickly grabbed my arm. Qinyang, that's too expensive. I don't want it. My clothes are enough. Only 32 yuan. I looked at her. My voice was gentle but firm. You'll look very good in it. I really don't need it. She became anxious. Her cheeks puffed up. She stared at me with a fake, fierce expression. If you keep wasting money, I'll get angry. Seeing her puffed up face like a little angry puffer fish, I couldn't help smiling. I raised my finger and lightly poked her cheek. The sudden intimacy caught her off guard. She froze. Then she pretended she was going to bite my finger. I quickly pulled my hand back. Wenwan. I stopped joking and looked into her eyes. This is the first time I'm seriously buying you clothes. It means something different. Her expression softened. Then you can buy something cheaper. You don't have to buy something this expensive. No, I shook my head. This one looks the best. Before she could object again, I turned to the salesperson. Sister Haixia, please choose one that fits my partner's size. All right. The salesperson laughed while watching us. Young people really are sweet. Girl, look how much your partner cares about you. You're so pretty. Once you wear this dress, this young man won't be able to look away. Su Wenwan's face turned completely red. She lowered her head shyly, but inside, her heart felt as if someone had poured honey into it. Sweet. Warm. After all, what girl wouldn't like being treasured and cherished by the person she loved? By the time they finished waiting, Wu Haixia returned carrying a neatly wrapped package made from brown craft paper. Inside was the brand new polyester dress. Little comrade, do you need anything else? If not, I'll write up the receipt for you. Wu Haixia asked politely. Qinyang glanced around the glass display counters. His family had already stocked up on many supplies at the supply store a few days ago, so there was nothing they urgently needed. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he noticed a small red bow hair clip sitting in the corner. The design was simple, but it had a playful charm. Sister Haixia, how much is this hair clip? He pointed at it. This one? 1 yuan. Wu Haixia bent down and took it out. Qinyang accepted the hair clip, turned around, and carefully pinned it into Su Wenwan's soft black hair. The bright red bow rested against her dark hair like a little butterfly that had landed there, instantly adding a touch of liveliness to her appearance. Beautiful. Qinyang looked at it carefully and nodded with satisfaction. I'll take this too. Please pack it together. All right. Wu Haixia smiled. The dress is 32 yuan. The hair clip is 1 yuan. 33 yuan total. She quickly wrapped the two items together and wrote the receipt. Qinyang paid, carefully held onto the package, and thanked her before preparing to leave with Su Wenwan. Little comrade, wait. Wu Haixia suddenly called him back. She motioned for him to come closer, then lowered her voice and quickly whispered a few words into his ear. A knowing look flashed through Qinyang's eyes that he nodded gratefully. Thank you for the reminder, Sister Haixia. Following her instructions, the two of them arrived at the warehouse behind the department store. The warehouse doors were opened. A young worker in uniform sat on a small stool near the entrance, looking rather relaxed as he crossed his legs and cracked sunflower seeds. Comrade, hello. Qinyang stepped forward and handed over the bicycle purchase receipt. Sister Haixia asked us to pick up the bicycle. She specifically mentioned the batch that arrived on the 7th. The young man glanced at the receipt, then looked Qinyang up and down. Only then did he slowly stand. The batch from the 7th, right? All right, wait here. I'll bring it out. Not long after, the young man pushed out a brand new Flying Pigeon 28-inch bicycle. The bike shone brightly under the sunlight. What was interesting was that someone had carefully tied a small red silk ornament onto the handlebars, making the new bicycle look especially festive. Thanks, comrade. Shenyang accepted the bicycle. He carefully inspected every part, checking that there were no scratches or defects before finally feeling relieved. Then he pushed the bicycle away with Su Wenwan. As they left the warehouse, Shenyang silently thanked Wu Haishao again. In this era, even if someone had money and a ticket, without experience or someone to guide them, the bicycle they received from the warehouse might have minor defects. Sometimes they could even end up with a so-called assembled bike, made from mismatched parts. A truly original bicycle in perfect condition was not something anyone could easily get. Come on, get on. Shenyang swung one leg over the bike and sat firmly on the seat. I'll take you for a ride. His excitement was impossible to hide. Su Wenwan obediently nodded. She sat sideways on the back seat, one hand lightly holding the seat, while the other naturally wrapped around Shenyang's strong waist. Shenyang pushed down on the pedals. The brand-new bicycle carried the two of them onto the streets of the county. Along the way, the bicycle with the red silk decoration, combined with the appearance of the young couple riding it, attracted many envious glances. A handsome man riding a new bicycle, with a beautiful woman beside him. Shenyang felt a rare sense of pride. His smile was brighter than the sunlight above. He rode directly to the county security office. According to the rules of the time, newly purchased bicycles needed to be registered, much like registering a car in later generations. One purpose was preventing theft. Another was for official management. A bicycle without a proper registration could be stopped and inspected. Shenyang handed over the purchase receipt and the introduction letter issued by the brigade. After confirming everything was correct, the staff began the registration process. It was simple. The worker brought out a set of metal stamps and a hammer. With several sharp strikes, he stamped a unique identification number onto the visible part of the bicycle frame. Then he attached a matching aluminum license plate to the rear of the bicycle with screws. Only then did the Flying Pigeon 28-inch bicycle officially become Shenyang's property, legally allowed on the road. After leaving the security office, the new bicycle plate reflected slightly under the sunlight. Shenyang pushed the bicycle and looked at Su Wenwan. Wenwan, is there anything else you want to buy in the county? If not, we'll head back soon. Su Wenwan thought for a moment. Then she looked up, her eyes filled with anticipation. Shenyang, do you know where we can buy textbooks? I want to teach Dado how to read when we have free time. He can't just spend all his days running around without learning anything. Her words immediately reminded Shenyang of something. His heart moved. The college entrance examination would resume in the winter of 1977. If there were only a little more than 3 years left, if they started preparing now, there was plenty of time. Wenwan, how far did you study before? Shenyang asked gently. I only finished junior high school. Su Wenwan's voice became slightly quieter. Later, something happened to my family, and I couldn't continue. Thinking back to her days studying in Jinling, when she had been one of the top students in her school, she could not help feeling a little emotional. If we want books, the supply store or the commune shop should have them. Come on, let's go take a look. Shenyang got back on the bicycle and carried Su Wenwan back to the supply store. The two went straight to the quieter books section in the corner. Behind a row of glass counters were neatly arranged books. To their surprise, textbooks from elementary school all the way through high school were available. That's wonderful, Shenyang. Su Wenwan excitedly grabbed his arm. Her voice was full of happiness. Look, they even have high school textbooks. I see. Shenyang looked at the bright expression on her face and felt happy as well. Then let's buy them all. You can read whichever one you want. Excuse me. Shenyang called over the store employee. We'd like to see the textbooks inside the cabinet. Sure. Which ones do you need? Could you prepare a full set of the main textbooks from elementary school through high school? The employee looked surprised. Little comrade, you want that many books? Yes. Shenyang smiled. We want to study more whenever we have free time. Knowledge is power. Learning more never hurts. Haha, well said. The employee gave him a thumbs up. Young people who like studying like this are rare nowadays. He began taking books from the cabinet. Brother, could you also bring me a complete set of senior high school textbooks? Shenyang added. Sure. The employee calculated. Elementary textbooks are 10 cents each, junior high are 20 cents, and high school books are 50 cents. Let me see. 5 elementary books, 50 cents. 8 junior high books, 1 yuan 60. 4 high school books, 2 yuan. Total is 4 yuan 10 cents. At that moment, Chun Yang's eyes were drawn to several red-covered books on a nearby shelf. They were copies of the quotations and selected works. He asked the employee to bring them over. After taking a closer look, Qin Yang was pleasantly surprised. These were early editions published in 1944. Comrade, we'll take these 2 sets as well. All right. These 2 sets cost 3 yuan. Together with the textbooks, the total is 7 yuan 10 cents. Chun Yang paid without hesitation. The employee wrapped the large stack of books tightly with thick craft paper, tied them securely with hemp rope, and handed them over. When they walked out of the supply store, Chun Yang looked at the brand-new bicycle beside the borrowed ox cart that he immediately found himself facing a problem. How were they supposed to get both of them home? The cart obviously could not fit the 28-inch bicycle. Chun Yang, are you worrying about how we're getting back? Su Wenwan looked at his slightly furrowed brows and smiled playfully. Yeah. Chun Yang pointed at the bicycle and ox cart. There's no way to put both together. What's so difficult about that? Su Wenwan raised the corner of her mouth confidently. You drive the ox cart. I'll ride the bicycle back. Simple. You know how to ride a bicycle? Chun Yang was genuinely surprised. Humph, don't underestimate me. Su Wenwan lifted her chin proudly. When I studied in Jinling, I rode a bicycle to school every day. It was a women's bicycle, so it was a little smaller. But the principle is the same. Chun Yang laughed. I didn't know my Wenwan was already an experienced rider. All right then. On the way back, you'll handle the bicycle, and I'll drive the ox cart behind you. We'll work together. Okay. Su Wenwan happily waved her hand. Let's go home. Her face was filled with a bright, joyful smile. On the way back, Su Wenwan rode the brand-new bicycle in front, while Chun Yang drove the ox cart slowly behind her. The breeze lifted strands of her hair, gently brushing against the red bow pinned in it. From time to time, she hummed an unfamiliar little tune, her cheerful voice drifting away with the wind. Every movement showed just how happy she was. Watching her from behind, Chun Yang couldn't help but smiled. He didn't quite understand why she seemed especially happy today. But seeing her smile was enough to brighten his entire world. Compared to the quiet and slightly distant gentleness she had shown when she first arrived, this lively and carefree version of Su Wenwan was probably closer to who she truly was. Thinking about it, it made sense. Back then, the siblings had come here alone to seek help. They were unfamiliar with everything around them, carrying anxiety and restraint in their hearts. But after spending more time together and becoming familiar with the people and environment, that invisible pressure had slowly disappeared. Wenwan. Chun Yang looked at her slender figure ahead and called softly, Su Wenwan stopped the bicycle and turned around. Her loose hair strands were slightly messy from the wind, and her clear eyes looked at him with curiosity. Chun Yang looked at her and revealed a gentle, serious smile. His voice was not loud, but every word was clear. From now on, when you're with me, laugh whenever you want. Be playful whenever you want. You don't have to hold yourself back. Just be completely yourself. I hope the Su Wenwan beside me is someone who feels relaxed, free, and comfortable. Those unexpected words struck directly at her heart. Su Wenwan froze. Then, an indescribable warmth suddenly surged through her chest. Her nose became slightly sour. Ever since her mother passed away and her father fell ill, it felt like she had grown up overnight. She had hidden away all the childishness and stubbornness that belonged to a young girl, with shoulders that were still too young for such burdens. She had forced herself to carry the weight of life. She learned to be sensible. She learned to be strong. She learned to hide all her fear and exhaustion behind a calm and gentle exterior. Until this moment, Chun Yang's words were like a ray of sunlight breaking through all the layers of protection she had built. They revealed the real her that had been buried for so long. Only now did she realize. She was still young. She was still in the best years of her life. And there really was someone who treasured her enough to tell her, you don't have to be strong forever. You can safely return to being the girl who laughs, cries, and acts freely. At that moment, Chun Yang's presence became larger and larger in her eyes. The so steadied, so dependable, so important that from now on, there seemed to be no room in her heart for anyone else. Okay. She nodded hard. Her voice carried a slight tremble that she tried to hide. Then she turned around and continued riding forward. Two warm tears quietly slipped from the corners of her eyes. But the smile on her face was brighter than ever, like a rainbow appearing after rain. The moment they reached the village entrance, the brand new bicycle caused an immediate commotion. Look, isn't that Chin's second son's future wife? Why is she riding a bicycle? Are your eyes broken? Didn't you see the red decoration on the handlebars? That's obviously a brand new bike. My goodness, the Chin family is really rising now. They just started building a green tile house, and now they bought a bicycle too. Who told them not to? Jania raised a good son. That kind of fortune isn't something everyone can envy. There was no work assignment in the brigade today. Many village women were gathered under the large tree at the entrance, chatting. But now, everyone's eyes were fixed on the shiny flying pigeon 28-inch bicycle. Their voices were filled with surprise and admiration. Most people were simply envious. There was little jealousy. After all, Qinyang had earned his money through his own ability in the mountains. His paperwork was complete. Everything was legal. No one could find anything to criticize. Many times, jealousy only existed between people whose abilities were close. When someone's ability was far beyond yours, the only thing left was respect. Yangzi, this bicycle is new, right? It looks amazing. How much did it cost? A familiar village woman, Aunt Zhang, stepped forward and carefully examined the bicycle. It's brand new, Aunt Zhang. Bought it today. Qinyang smiled. It cost 168 yuan. I figured it would be more convenient later when I go into town to sell mountain goods or handle errands. Yes. Having a bicycle definitely makes life easier. Aunt Zhang nodded repeatedly. Auntie, you all keep chatting. We still have things to do, so we'll head home first. After exchanging a few words, Qinyang and Su Wenwan pushed the bicycle away to the fork in the road. Qinyang asked Su Wenwan to take the bicycle and the things they bought home first. He himself drove the ox cart back to the brigade office. On the way, he also stopped by Chun Jigang's house to deliver his share of the money from selling the medicinal herbs. In the short time Qinyang was gone, news that the Chin family had bought a bicycle spread through the entire Hongqi brigade. By the time Qinyang returned home with Chun Jigang, the courtyard was already crowded with villagers who had come to see the new bicycle. It was extremely lively. Qinyang brought Chun Jigang back for two reasons. First, the young man had insisted on seeing the new bike. Second, a man nearly 1.9 meters tall was perfect extra labor that a strong worker like that would be a waste not to use. That entire afternoon, aside from meals and short breaks, Qinyang and Chun Jigang helped at the construction site. With more hands, the progress was much faster. By evening, when work ended, the foundation of the new house was almost completely dug out. At this rate, another full day would be enough to finish the foundation work. However, more workers also meant more mouths to feed. The household grain supply was disappearing at an alarming rate. Although the family still had more than 30 jin of white flour and around 20 jin of white rice, those were precious fine grains Zhang Cuiping couldn't bear to use them for feeding everyone working on the house. That night, after dinner and cleaning up, the family sat together. Zhang Cuiping looked at Chun Jianya. His father, the coarse grain at home, is almost gone. Tomorrow, could you go to the brigade and ask if we can borrow 200 or 300 jin first? We can return it after the harvest distribution at the end of the year. All right, Chun Jianya nodded. I'll ask tomorrow morning. If the brigade can't spare any, I'll find a way to get some grain coupons through other channels. Good. Zhang Cuiping nodded. Then she remembered something else. Also, the meat Qinyang brought back before is almost finished. When you go to the supply store tomorrow, buy more meat. Preferably more fatty meat. The oil jar at home is almost empty, and we can render some lard. How many meat coupons do we have left? Chun Jianya asked. I estimate about 10 jin worth. 10 jin probably won't be enough. Chun Jianya thought for a moment. Tomorrow, ask around among people we know and see if anyone can exchange another 20 jin of meat coupons. This time, let's buy more at once. That way we won't run out again so quickly. All right, I'll handle it tomorrow. Zhang Cuiping memorized the plan. After discussing the household matters, everyone washed up and went back to rest. Qinyang lay on his temporary bed in the main room, thinking about how he needed to bring back another big catch. He was supposed to be an excellent hunter, yet somehow his own family was running short of meat if word got out That would be embarrassing. Although he had hunted quite a few things recently, it still wasn't much when compared to the size of the household, aside from the roe deer he caught on the first day after being reborn. The only major catch afterward had been the sicket deer. Two big animals in total, and one of them had already been sold. No tomorrow. No matter what, he had to find another big catch.